Hello and welcome to another episode of the Fun Shoot Podcast with me, Jong. I am joined by one of my favorite photographers, and I am not ashamed to admit that I tried to steal as much ideas from his shots as possible. Mr. Theik Smith, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. I'm also glad to know that I'm sitting in the presence of a mutual thief because your shots are fire too, bro.
Oh, dude, we can. The idea of it is like, just try to imitate people that are better than you. That's what I do with your stuff. And even if I miss, it's just better. It's better than most of the other people.
So, I mean, I think we talked about this like the first time, but like how much I looked up to you when I was coming up. So that was like, so this is crazy to me. So thank you very much.
So we were just talking off pod about echo chambers, and we made our own, and I appreciate it.
Yes, indeed. The echo set has great resonance.
There you go.
That's what that is. Yeah.
For those who are just tuning in, this is the second season. Long hiatus between first and second season of the Fun Shoot Podcast, where I talk to image makers, light shapers, entertainers, creatives about their craft, what makes them tick. I love talking to people that have artistic passions because it's so fun to listen to how they develop their craft. These people, particularly Theik, is a combination of interdisciplinary talents that culminates into freezing time into photos of very, very hot women. That is not lost on me. So again, I apologize if it's TMI, but Theik it has this way of bringing out dynamic inner beauty from people that have dynamic outer beauty, such just like an exponential beauty smorgasbord.
Which, you know what? Here's the thing. Demar, I appreciate that, but I wish that the same people who you're referring to would be able to see more of that for themselves, because generally speaking, and you know this, I think it's like you can say whatever you like about what you think about what someone looks like, but that isn't necessarily reflective of how they feel about themselves.
100%.
And even when you're like working with someone who seemingly like this incredibly free spirit is down for like doing like whatever and like and all that good stuff, that doesn't necessarily mean that they themselves feel beautiful. And so one of the most, I think, honorable things about what we do is when we work with someone and they look at their shots and go, oh my God, is that me?
Yeah.
And then you go, yes, it is. And then they go, well, I'm going to feel really good about myself for like the next couple of days.
Yeah.
And that's what I love most. And that's what I chase after.
And exactly what this podcast is all about, particularly for people that make shots like we do or capture images as we do. Again, coming off from what you said, that's what I try to do, is like to show people, regardless of whether it's aesthetic beauty or not, just show somebody a different side of themselves that will surprise them, either better or worse, or hopefully not worse, but like just show them a different side that they may not see from themselves. And that's what I admire about your shots, because you do the same. Like, you bring out a different side of the beauty of a person or the inner beauty of a person, but yours is a lot more dynamic. So what I try to do is somber, emotive. I want to make you pretty by looking ugly. Like most of the people that we shoot in combination, like, or we shoot together or shot as well.
Right, like our cohort, our colleagues.
Our burlesque people that are so used to costumes, so used to makeup. And my favorite shots are always like, hey, as soon as you come in, little to no makeup, just like take off your shirt, sit in front of the camera, and let's shoot. And then they're not doing flashy moves, flashy poses, but I'm going to try to show you that your most natural you is also gorgeous.
Yeah.
And on your shots, I look at it as these are people that are flying through the air, bending in some sorts of ways. Both the bodies and their shadows are like even if it's still on the photo, it's like it's so dynamic and so powerful. Like I see all of our people like, oh shit, I know this person, I know that person. Like, I shot her way different than you did.
Yeah.
And I can still say that they're both beautiful.
Oh, absolutely.
And then, like, and the other side, I was like, I knew this person was strong and independent and powerful, like just knowing them. But when you shoot them, it's on the pixel. That's why again, I'm unashamed of saying, like, every time you pop a photo, it's like, this is unique Theik.
Oh, thanks, man.
Like, how low can you go into that ground to see those shots? But, a little bit of a housekeeping break now that we've already gushed over each other a little bit. The Fun Shoot podcast will be coming out weekly on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Jong. And you can also follow me on Instagram and X. Oh my God, I'm saying X.
Ugh.
Can
we be rebels and still
say Twitter? Yes.
Because I still look at tweets.
You can tweet at me at Jong, and a little bit later we'll go get all Theik's socials. I promise you, it's a fun follow. It's one of those things that if you can pin somebody on Instagram as a follow, Theik's work is always stellar. So, like and subscribe in the channel. It helps me grow this community of like-minded individuals to just talk about their passions and hopefully learn a little bit of something and do a little bit better. But with that, I know we've already had like a 2-parter episode in the first season, one of my favorites. That's why I wanted to start the season again with you, because, not only are we kindred spirits and we do the same passion, it's just fun to actually have somebody who is aligned not only with the hobby, with the craft, but also the people that we shoot. So it's kind of like one of those things where we could be more alike, but our stuff is so different.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
but I mean, even like, I think our dramatic through lines that's what makes us different. The things that we're ultimately chasing to either create or capture. You're interested in almost stripping away the superfluous and finding, like, because right now, in my mind, I'm like thinking of like some of my favorite shots of yours. Of course, I'm always going to talk about the work you've done with Tiger Bay. Lucy Bottoms, also amazing. But then also like mutual dancer buddies of ours, Tatiana, Victoria, the work that you've done with them, which I'll be honest, super jealous of.
Right before the shoot, I just shot, and I didn't tell you this consciously, but I shot Puss in Boots.
Oh, I love Puss in Boots.
Who could not stop singing your praises because of her cowboy costume that you most recently shot with her, and her like fitness stuff. She's a trainer, so we've been doing she's been doing a lot of the fitness stuff too. And then I shot her today, and then I told her, like, hey, I'm hanging out with Theik. We're gonna talk shop a little bit while ago. It's like, hey, I love Theik. I'm gonna bug him because, like, he said we're gonna shoot again. And then she's like, I was like, that jumping shot with that kick. We see jumping shots and kicks all the time. It's just different when it's not only the technical stuff of the shot. Again, technicality aside, super easy. You pick a shutter speed. You have you expose it properly. I appreciate the choices of shots.
Yeah.
And then that's not just a kick. That's not just a split. That's like everything, even like the way that you cropped it was like.
Can I tell you about that shot?
Please.
Because it's actually very indicative of how I do approach shooting action. I'm a big believer in I don't capture things, we create them.
Yeah.
So part of it is I'm a bit of a madman. And when I say that, what I mean by that is like I'm fixated on like very specific things. So like when it comes to like that jump, it wasn't just like what can you do? Because like if you look at her,
she can probably do anything.
Athlete. Like she can do damn near anything you want. But specifically, I was emulating this old school Jackie Chan shot. So this goes into all of the multidisciplinary things, but I was like emulating this old school Jackie Chan shot, like as the springboard for it. So I knew I wanted to make sure that we had like this one really clean line of like the front leg in full extension, one really nice tuck of the bottom leg,
yeah.
right? Make sure that the arms are cleared, but also her face is up because like Puss is beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
And on top of that, it's also just like a really dope fitnessy, vaguely martial artsy thing, but I just knew it would be super dynamic. I think we got that jump. I'll check. And you can put this in the edit later. Like once I go and look at whatever, I think we got that in less than 20 frames. In fact, probably closer to less than 10.
Those are like my favorite photographers that think film. You have 36 shots to do a look. It's efficient, but for me, it's not about the efficiency. It's about developing good habits. I try to shoot, like the reason why I shoot a lot of performers, because I can fit into their schedule. They can be coming from a shoot or coming from a gig or going to a gig, spend 45 minutes, an hour and a half here. You'll do 3 layouts.
Yeah.
Because one, I'm lazy. I don't want to go through that many shots.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yep.
Because like you don't want to be like paralyzed by the options.
Yeah.
So that's one of the points. And then the other point of it is like, the model won't develop bad habits doing the same thing over and over again to no avail, and you won't have bad habits in communicating what you need to want. Like, I need to get everything that I need within a certain amount of like 36, 50, whatever, set a limit for yourself. So, I remember when we were talking about this the first time, like, yeah, you're doing you can't have 200 jumps.
No, you can't. You can't have 200 jumps. Number one, because that's insulting. I think it's insulting for everyone involved, but also like the wear and tear on like the dancers' bodies.
Your backdrops.
I mean, yeah. Oh man, especially when it comes to the smearing from shoes or ballet shoes. So here's a little anecdote for you guys. So right now we live in a better era where more and more ballet shoe companies are producing more and more different shades of shoes for ballerinas, especially ballerinas of color. But before that, so many ballerinas would have to take their
pink satin.
Take the pink satin and then use their makeup to then color the shoes to match their skin tones, which is appalling that that's been going on for so long, and thank goodness it's being fixed. But that also means, though, for your backdrops, it would smear. So that the first time that happened, I was like going, oh, well, that's okay. We're getting dope shots. I could cut this later, and Photoshop will take care of whatever else. But I mean, even then, point shoes are like $100 a pair. Yeah. So you can't ask someone to come in and like wear out their shoes because you yourself can't do your job. Like, and especially when it comes to jumps, like, look, once you understand what you're going for, I think that you should be able to take the first couple of shots, figure out this is the shape we're going for. Then after that, it's going to be like, great. Now, on the dancer's side, what are the modifications of where the limbs need to be? Do the shoulders need to drop more? Do the fingers need to flare? Balanchine versus not. Whatever, that becomes weird technical stuff. My apologies. But then on your end as a photographer, to your point, like, okay, cool. So in terms of your settings, are you shooting, what's your shutter speed? I am really good at what I do when it comes to this. So I'm comfortable with my shutter speed being like around 1/200th of a second, like my max shutter speed or about HSS. If you aren't as twitchy as I am, and very few people are, like, do whatever you need to do to get your shutter speed up. You want to have perfectly frozen action. And don't get me wrong, as good as I am, that doesn't mean every shot is like completely frozen. Like it's being able to look at what you're seeing, which I know is a weird thing to say, but when it comes to shooting action, I feel that's the issue.
Anticipate what's next. I mean, that's the, again, I should have given a little bit more warning. Again, this is a photography creativity podcast. We're gonna go deep into shit.
Yeah,
we're gonna talk gear. We're gonna talk 8 high-speed sync numbers, our shutter speed numbers.
I've got a question for you. I've been itching to ask, but I'm I'm waiting for now because I desperately need your opinion on two things.
Okay, this is the place where anything craft related. Like again, we have the new segments of this podcast. We're going to nerd about gear because like one, most of my friends are the performers, the subjects of my photography. I am excited to kind of like cultivate more of a relationship with you and some of the photographers that I've met recently. Again, through speaking with Puss in Boots, like Doug Ross and Steve Kerr. Like we've bumped to each other a bunch. We've talked about stuff all the time because we shoot the same people, but you know. It's different when you talk like, hey, like actual gear, like, well,
Yeah,
what filter are you using? What,
Yeah.
I was like,
What's your workflow, bro?
like, it's like, oh, you're 1/200. I'm 1/125. Like I'm
Whoa.
1/25. Well, because again, I don't do movement like you,
That's fair, yeah.
right? So that's why, like, I when I started doing more dynamic stuff,
Mhm.
I'll do 1/250. But the thing is that is like I had crappier lights that
Right.
didn't go up that high.
Yeah.
Like,
Because that's also part of the reason too why I've learned how to shoot like 1/160 and 1/200. Is because like I just don't have lights that
That's
do
the max.
HFS.
That's the max. Yeah.
I mean, I do have like one flash gun, like an old Yongyo whatever.
That's
that does-
manual.
I'm sorry.
That's manual. It's like whatever they
Yeah,
can set it.
exactly. But it goes up, I think, to like 1/1000th of a second. No, it can go
Oh,
past that. Like it's really good for that.
Oh,
But it's also only one of them I have, and I rarely use it for that purpose. Instead, I've just gotten really good at knowing exactly, because all of it is right there in your shutter finger. It's knowing when this happens, just this moment.
little movement. Yeah.
Word.
Well,
Yeah.
but like now that we're going deeper into all of your stuff,
Yeah.
before we get into even more nerdy stuff, let the people know what is your brand of photography. What is the Theik Smith style first? Springing this on you, like
Yeah, but you know what though? Like, so in a past life, I was and am a writer, so I should be able to have my elevator pitch about myself. So basically, super dynamic movement. Commercially viable
Ooh.
product that is there to, of course, fulfill client expectations. But really and truly, I just want to go there and like find ways to go there and help people look like their best selves. Like I want to create work that helps people feel good about themselves.
Dude, that hit me because like that is, I've known your shots for years, but just stringing together both the dynamic and commercially viable is like that is a good description of it because a lot of shots are dynamic.
Yeah.
Action shots are dynamic. Sports shots are dynamic.
Oh, hell yeah.
But yours is like, yeah, it's commercially viable, like, beautifully flowing, artistically generated. Yeah, that's a good pitch, dude. Fuck.
Like I said, I should know how to like at least elevator pitch myself.
Now that's awesome. And we talked a little bit about this in the last episodes that we did, but it's been years.
Yeah.
It's been years. So I am not only anticipating, but I am hoping that you've upgraded a little bit. So let's talk about let's talk about the gear that you're rocking.
Sure.
Let's trade notes because we're both Canon boys.
Yes, indeed.
But what are you rocking now?
Honestly, like I'm rocking the EOS R.
Love it.
Yeah, I mean it's a hell of a machine, but I'll be honest with you, bro. I'm here looking at the R6 Mark II.
Ooh.
I held it in my hands like one time at B&H, and you know that moment when you actuate the shutter and you hear it and you feel it through your hand, goes into your skull. It just felt right. And then I've heard nothing but great things about its autofocus. All that good stuff.
I am actually now I'm even more scared that I thought that you've already upgraded to the R6 Mark II. That was my guess.
Oh no!
Yeah, I thought that if not the R5, probably the R6 Mark II. Like because I know we both had the R the last time I spoke.
Yeah.
I've upgraded
So
since.
what are you rocking, bro?
Okay, perfect. So now, a big Canon boy. I've upgraded from my. I used to the last time I spoke, I had the R and I had the 1DX Mark II. I've since traded everything that I've had. My Leica M9. I had my Summicron 50 and 35. I've traded it all.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm now rocking the R5,
Nice.
the R6,
Oh, yeah.
and the R7.
Okay, so which one is your favorite and why?
Perfect. Oh, look at us.
Word.
Look at us passing.
Word.
This is exactly that's what I built this for. So the R6 is just for photos.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite for studio photography.
Okay.
The R5 is for my videography. Now I'm doing more videos. Very easy. I will not even consider myself anywhere near close like a cinematographer or anything. It's basically just YouTube stuff. A lot of reels for our friends, like for
Right on.
our burlesque shows.
Mhm.
That's the reason why I have multiple cameras, is I have multiple angles for
Yeah.
cameras. So if it's mostly video, it's the R5. If it's mostly photography, it's just the R6. Because I don't need 45 fucking megapixels for the setup. Yeah, it just takes longer to edit and more hard drives to
Yeah.
do. So those are that's my Canon lineup, right? Or before I go to my other lineup, so you're rocking the R5. What are the lenses that you?
Oh no, I'm rocking the R still.
Oh, sorry, you're
Yeah.
rocking the R.
Mm-hmm. And so, to be honest with you, the only major upgrade since last time we talked,
I remember your like it's the 85 that was your
Yep, my
your
85.
mainstay.
my 85 is still my mainstay.
This is the 1.4,
The 1.8.
the 1.8.
Yep,
Ooh,
still
good.
rocking the 1.8, bro.
USMEF. Let's go.
Dude, I mean, like, it's a great lens.
Yeah.
And on top of that, for what it is, you look at, I don't know, because I've been looking at the reviews for, like, especially the RF lenses, and I know that glass is pretty. I know it's tack sharp. I know that especially like native to the R, it's gonna like
Fast.
whatever. However, the question I have is, can I justify that cost right now?
If you're see, you and I think about the same things. Our answers are way different.
Oh yeah,
Right?
word.
It's like I buy stuff to make me happy.
I buy stuff because I need it.
I like looking at it. To be honest, that's why even if I pay $2,500 for a lens,
Yeah.
it's not wasted because I literally just look at them.
Yeah, word. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I see the thing about it is, for me, I'm more of back in the day when I was first like learning about all this stuff. Ken Rockwell, KenRockwell.com.
Fuck, I still read them now.
Yeah, I mean,
Still
like, dude, and I recommend him to young shooters specifically because I'm like going, you might not agree with everything he has to say, but read what he says and how he says it, because this is how you need to approach being a professional photographer. And so there's one thing he said, though, that kind of stuck with me, unfortunately, and it was, the real mark of a professional photographer is it's a dude who's shooting his gear until it's falling apart and he can't keep it together with gaff tape anymore. And I was like
100%.
going, okay, cool, thanks so much for that, Ken.
Yeah.
I'll be that guy for a while. So my 85, I actually had to get it repaired. Oh, man, I've got some stories about that. Gear falling apart. Oh, I'll ask this question in a second. The only substantial upgrade I've made in terms of my lens kit, I got the RF 35 1.8.
Okay.
That
okay.
one, yes, I know it's plastic. I don't give a
No. Everybody loves it. Everybody loves how it's light. It's
Yes.
small.
Yes.
On the RF system, on the R system, it's just super fast.
Yep.
Yeah,
Tack
so-
sharp. I mean, like, I've had some major commercial gigs that I use that lens for, and it worked beautifully.
No, yeah, it is one of. I've held it. I played around with it, and that's where apart from my photo gear, I don't care about size and weight,
Okay.
because what I care about there is convenience and of course the image. So I'm a bokeh whore. I need the widest aperture that you can give me.
Word.
I don't care how big that damn lens is, because it's photo. I mostly do studios. Like I do a wedding 2-3 times a year. That's it. But for everything else, weight and size is a premium. So the 35 1.8 is one of those. It's almost pancakey. You can put it on any fucking gimbal. It's great.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, But to your point though about like weight and size mattering, I last year had again like another major commercial gig where I had to rent the 7200. Was it
2.8 or 4?
The 2.8 Mark II.
Nice.
I mean, sure, but then like I ended up hurting like because it's so
It's big.
heavy because you're like, and I don't use straps either, so I'm handling everything. I said I was a madman.
I was gonna. Well, again, we don't need to do straps because we do studio stuff.
Well,
right?
generally speaking, but for this gig, I was like running around for like basically 6 hours.
Oh, unsubscribe.
And like so, forgive future you, please forgive me for this, but I had to hold the lens, the camera like this,
like a baby.
Yeah, and then I ended up messing up my forearm, my left forearm. Yeah,
because of how heavy it was.
Yep.
Wow.
This was messed up over here, and then like my grip strength was also affected. Also, I just now recovered from COVID, so that also couldn't have been helpful. But when it comes to like the weight of the thing, was it worth it? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Would I want to do that again if there's a lighter alternative available? No. Like no. Ow. So I mean. So when you're talking about like the difference in terms of like our workflows, because I think these are the conversations that more of us need to have. I mean, it's really important for us to point out like our uses. Every once in a while, I need that lens, but I need to keep in mind I need to run around with it for like the better part
finding
of 6 to 8 hours.
Yeah, like we as hobbyist photographers, as professional photographers, we over prepare, or we have more gear than what we need every time. Like, it's stupid for you to bring everything that you got to to every gig. That's what that's us 10 years ago. But nowadays it's like, all right, I'm gonna know that if I'm not gonna be close to what I'm shooting, I'm just gonna bring the 85 and 72 to 100. If there's going to be up close stuff, maybe I'll throw in the 35 and stuff like that. So that's always kind of like, I love that game. I love packing. I love like putting I'll put 2 bags out. I'll do like, maybe I'll over prepare because I don't know what I'm shooting. And then sometimes like, no, I just need 2 bodies, 2 lenses. That's it.
Yeah, or even there's something to be said about, because I've gone through this too, where you sit there and go, I only need like 1 body and maybe 2 lenses. Maybe, I mean, like, so this event that I was shooting over the last weekend, that was my main loadout. It was the EOS R. The first day, I brought along the 85-1.8 and my 28 to 105, 3.5 to 4, I think.
Oh, the EF still.
Yeah, the EF still. Yeah, so I still use that adapter. The adapter is amazing. And I mean, and part of the reason too I'm hesitant to like go full tilt into the RF system is because like my backup body is still the 6D. And the problem is if I then have nothing but RF lenses.
No, you can't use it anymore.
Exactly. So, I mean, so then that means, of course, if I invest into the RF system, which again, I want to upgrade to the 6D, the R6 Mark II.
Then you'll trade in the 6D.
Right.
And then all the other lenses.
R as my backup, then I can like go in full tilt the RF system. But until then, this is part of the calculation,
Yeah, this is little plug, but like one of the next videos that I'm going to be doing maybe in the next couple of weeks is exactly this conversation, or like what my decision was when I started upgrading from my EF to RF, because like again I had the 5D Mark II, I had the 1DX Mark III, all of my lenses were EF, and then it was very expensive and painful to change them one by one. So now I'm like, I realize like the EF system, like it's funny how a 5D Mark II now you can get it for $300-400.
And you know what? It's still a hell of a machine.
It's the top of the line Olympics level cameras. Just a couple of generations ago, and it still works.
I mean, especially I was reading the Photographer, actually, shout out to the Photographer. And I remember the article I was reading, it was like Chris talking about how he looks back at the work that he made with the 5D Mark II, and he's like, this is some of the best work I've ever made. because this camera just was special like that.
The 5D Mark II is special for a lot of people because like it's full frame, small package. Back in the day, the issue was like batteries.
Oh yeah.
And then the LPE6 is still rocking.
Oh,
We're still using it.
Oh man, I've got some stories about the LP6 failing me finally after many years. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like one of the easier ones to get. And yeah, it was like, take out the grip. It's small. You can do a little bit of video on it.
Oh yeah.
Right?
I mean, like, don't forget too, they shot B footage for the Avengers movie. Like, yeah, that's how old it is. That's how old the Avengers movie is, and that's how old we are. But that's the thing. Like, it was such an amazing camera, and it still works. And there's a part of me that, especially when, I talk with someone who wants to get into photography and they're like, what do you think I should get? I just be like, how much money can you blow away over like 2 weekends? Put that towards a camera body and then play. Like,
we are at a level now that it's like at whatever price point that you want to enter,
Yep.
$500, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000,
$100.
you can get like a really awesome, body. Maybe add another $100 for a decent lens. Like everybody knows about the Nifty 50.
Exactly.
We don't even need to like discuss that. But like, there's so many amazing for all. Like that's the thing too, and that's where I fucked up a lot because I started. We're Canon boys. I'm a Canon boy through and through, and I know that lineup like the back of my hand. But I dipped my toe in other brands, and I got
Traitor.
heresy. So you're looking at what we're filming right now.
I know. I did check it out. I was
It is like it's one of those things where I wish I never touched a Sony camera.
Yeah, no, I get the appeal.
It's so small.
Bruh, Sony makes hell of machines. Like, they make fantastic machines.
And particularly if you're leaning more towards videos as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's so small, it's so light, it's relatively affordable.
I mean, for me, dude, I'll be honest with you. The biggest thing I care about for Sony, that if this would be what would make me switch over, the low light performance. Like, straight up, that their high ISO performance is ridiculous.
It is.
And like, so the workshop I was doing, this was over at Brooklyn College. I couldn't bring any flashes, obviously. I mean, it's distracting. People are like, it's fake. They're fake swords, but it's real. It's real metal.
Oh, a little bit of background. So this festival or
Stage Combat Convention.
Stage Combat Convention. If you want to learn a little bit more about Theik's background, we're skipping it a bit. Because like we had a two-parter.
Yeah, word.
He does a lot of combat arts. Action choreography. If you want to learn more about it, Theik is the dude not only to choreograph your fights, but to photograph them. Right? Look at that.
I mean, also the New York Stage Combat community is amazing and wonderful, and I'm a big believer in the mission of actors and performers like taking some basic stage combat classes for two main reasons. One, how many times have you guys been asked, or not even asked, to do some basic falls?
I just fall regardless. Like,
yeah, word. And
you don't even have to ask me. I'm just going to fall.
Right. We're tough cannon boys. We'll be fine. But learning how to fall, learning how to throw a stage punch, knowing how to take a stage punch. For the record, by and large, you should not ever actually get hit for realties. Yeah. No one likes bleeding their own blood. Don't start. But yeah, if you do have any questions, hey man, drop me a line. At the very least, I can point you in the direction of really cool people.
While looking good. While looking
amazing and living your best life.
There you go.
Die pretty deaths. That was something I was saying a lot over the weekend. But yeah, so we're in like the auditoriums and in these classrooms, and oh my God, the lowest I could put my ISO was like 3,200. As I'm shooting at 2.8, right? And I think my shutter speed stayed about 1/160th or 1/125th. And that's because I wanted some motion blur for things. But I mean, like, look, are the shots pretty? Yeah. But if they're in front of a bunch of pixel peepers, they're gonna be like, oh, and I'll be like, shut up.
It's just funny, like how different our worlds are, because you said like you wanted motion blur at 1/125th.
Yeah.
That's my tack shot.
See, the thing about it is, we're not usually shooting two people like doing a sword
That's
fight.
true. That's true. Like if I wanted motion blur, I shoot regularly at 1/60th.
Oh wait, so here's the critical part that I forgot to mention, which I want to ask you.
Mhm.
I'll start off with asking you this. So with all that said, but what lens loadout are you using?
Okay, so and I'm gonna throw it back to you too, but I've kind of like established a very clean workflow, efficient workflow. One partly because I don't want to think,
Yeah.
right? So 80% of my shoots are studio. When I do studio shoots, it's always two versions. I have the clean catalog version, which is like if I want it sharp, clean white background, where I flood the lights both on the subject as key and in the backdrop. That's f8, 125. That's every single catalog shot I do.
Copy.
The lens that I will be using there, depending on how tall the subject is.
That's fair. Yeah.
New York problems. Like if you were anywhere else in the United States doing your shoots in your garage or a spare bedroom, our living rooms is our living room, our office, our studio, our guest room. So depending on how tall the subject is, I would love to just stick with my 50
Copy.
and do everything with my 50 if I can move myself further back. But I do have like you guys don't see it on the video right now, but it's my living room is fairly short. So if I need a full body, then I'll have to switch with my absolute favorite lens that I would any RF user. I changed my mind. Before I was a 24-70 holy, that's like the ultimate everything do it all lens.
Yeah.
Changed my mind. Nope. 28-70 all the way. RF 28-70 f2.
Tell me more.
It is okay. Let me start with the cons. It's fucking monstrous. It's a 95 millimeter thread size. It's not the lens that you walk
You're
around
starting
with.
to lose me, bro.
Exactly. But and the other con, it starts at 28. People don't think that's wide enough, right? 24
Yeah, no,
is kind of like what we're accustomed to,
Yeah.
starting at the wide angle. But 28-70 is, gets a 24-70, which I never thought, like, do you have a 24-70?
I don't have a 24/7.
You have the 28-105.
Yeah.
Which is like a variable aperture. There's just kind of like, for the shots you take and you're doing an 85-1.8, it's not even the L, and you're doing the 25,
Oh,
28 to the 35 is the RF, but like the 28 to 105 variable, that's stellar. That is
Thanks.
amazing.
I mean, like, again, God bless Ken Rockwell, but put it into your head. You zoom with your feet.
That's true.
I mean, but with that said, though, don't get me wrong. Like, my saving grace is that my living room has a couple more feet of depth. So therefore, like,
and is it clear? Because like right now, whenever I shoot,
yep, and on top of that, it's pretty dedicated.
yeah. So for me, it's like I have a giant couch where I have to move to one side of the room, cutting this 1/3. So I am, eventually I'm going to have to like kind of work with an interior designer or like somebody that could look at the Tetris my living room so that I don't have to move furniture around to shoot.
Yeah, I mean. But even with that said, I mean, like, I'm so accustomed to shooting, because you know what it's like when you've got that camera and that lens, and when you put it to your eye, you know exactly what it is you're gonna get, right? Or even better, like when you see something that you want to shoot, and you're already moving backwards or forwards as you're bringing your camera up to your eye, right? And that's the thing about like my loadout. So I do most of my stuff, most of my action shots with 35. I do most of my portraits with the 85. The 28-105 is strictly for events, honestly, because like it's good for a non-L lens, but it's not an L lens.
I mean, 5.6 is still rough. I mean, in the end, if you're,
It's not even that, bro. It's not even about it. not being rough because, like I said, the first day my loadout was the 85 and the 28 to 105. Then when I was like, offloading my footage, I was like peeping at my pictures. I'm like going, well, with the 28 to 105, I'm like going, oh yeah, no, the light's it's too dim. The only people who will care will be like us.
Us, yeah.
The clients, they're like going, these are fun and great. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Where I'm like going, yeah, maybe, but I don't like it.
Yeah.
And then I ended up because it was a 4-day workshop. For the 3 days after that, it was the 85 and the 35.
Amazing.
Yeah, and the thing about that is though, is again, I also made the decision I would prefer to zoom with my feet
Yeah.
to get those proper shots, or trust in the fact I'm shooting such a high resolution. Oh, dude, you'd appreciate this. So the first day, I had the zoom lens and I was shooting JPEG because I was like going, I'll be fine. It wasn't fine.
I mean,
It wasn't fine in the sense that with RAW, there's more depth to play with to really pull out better tones out of a relatively shitty lighting experience.
that's true. I mean, like JPEGs will always crush the data into it. But I'm like, I'm more efficiency. If I need to
Working shooter,
if I need to kind of like, convert my RAW to a TIFF, edit it, and then save it to a JPEG, you know what? JPEG works.
But no, but I mean,
shoot it properly in the first way.
I mean, but you know what it's like though, because I mean, you are a working photographer, and you know what it's like to be in the trenches and to make these decisions on the fly, where you're like going, what matters most here? Ultimate maximum image fidelity or efficiency to get more potential keepers, especially when you're thinking to yourself, how many memory cards do I have on me again?
And you're still doing EF and RF.
Yeah.
So you have SDs and you have CFs.
Oh no! Thankfully for the EOS it's just the SD, so I don't have to worry about.
No, but
that.
like your 6D SD too.
No, 60s SD. Yeah, 60.
Oh, there you go. Because I was thinking like.
Oh no, you're probably thinking like what, the 70.
I was thinking about the 5D Mark II.
Oh yeah,
and that's one of the reasons why, like, what, I can't just keep having like CFs and SDs, and I'm like, oh, I have so many SDs, but I only have 2 CFs.
Oh,
so I was like, no.
Well, let me ask you this question, because I mean, again, if we're going to be geeking out,
we're geeking out on gear right now.
Your word. So let's geek out with the stuff no one talks about, which is memory cards, right? As well as what has been your experience with, no, I was going to ask a very specific question. I think I prefer to ask a general question and see what that is. How, after a shoot's done, how do you go about offloading your footage and backing it up?
So I have my process, any shoot. So I've been doing a lot more videos now.
Yeah.
Because, it's where the trend is going. But I'm also trying to learn how to film properly. So I've been just like filming a lot of gigs. But regardless of whether it's a video gig or a photo gig, my process is literally right after the shoot, I will directly offload whatever is on all of my SDs to a hard drive. All right. So I have one folder for the JPEGs, one folder for the RAWs. I'm one of the crazy photographers where I will send all of the RAWs to, like, all of the raw JPEGs to my subject. Right.
We talked about
that.
that.
So and again, my reasoning there is, partly lazy because I want them to pick the things that, I will still edit my favorite shots.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, we should be more of an expert on what looks on our subjects, but I also want them to pick the ones that they feel comfortable. And let's see if we can bridge that gap, educate them a little bit. So I have one folder for the JPEG, one folder for the RAW, and the JPEG goes to my Google Drive. So I have a cloud backup just in case everything explodes.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what I do literally right after the shoot. Because, if we forget, like I've done this years ago, I've done this where, I had shoots back to back, and then I shot over, muscle memory. I plug in a SD, I format it, and then I shoot. and then I forgot that I had like a previous shoot in that card that I did not back up. So ever since then, that is my backup. So I have a gajillion hard drives.
Yeah.
And then all the JPEGs are always up in my Google Drive because in the end, like even if they're, I can still passively edit them even if I lose my actual.
Right. You might not be able to have the maximum flexibility of like editing.
Still, you can like
it's something.
It works. It works. Again, in the end, like for the stuff that we do, I'm not printing for. I'm not submitting to a magazine or a newspaper.
Oh, I've started to.
There you go. So that you need your RAWs. You need the highest bit rate that you can. Like, I mean, these my client or like the people, my subjects are like posting on Facebook and Instagram. Word. So it's we can rock it. Yeah.
Word. I had this interesting conversation a while. Actually, it was the time I went to B&H and I held the 6D, not 60. See, that's the problem with the naming conventions. We always go back to the D, whatever. Anyway, held the R6 Mark II in my hands. But I ended up having to buy like some new batteries because I had to get the LP6 EHMs, the newest one.
LPE6N. It's just like the LPE6, but has like a higher capacity.
Isn't there one that's past that?
That's what I have.
Oh, all right, cool.
The one with like the gold stickers.
Well, I ended up talking with one of the workers there, and he put into my head something as if I don't have enough scary stuff in my head. But he was like, I was like, "Hey, what do you think about third-party LP6Ns?" And he was like, "Don't do that." I was like, "Why? They're cheaper, and aren't they good?" He's like, "Yeah, but just in case some shit goes down on a shoot." Like, and you've got a particularly litigious client, like, they're going to go there and, like, ask you what you brought on your shoot.
Oh, what?
Yeah. That'll be part of discovery. Because that's what, if something, God forbid, goes that bad, excuse me a second, but God forbid something goes that bad, they can go there and ask you, like, what your loadout was.
Okay.
To go there and see if they can make their case based off of, like, you having, like, shit gear.
Yeah. No, you know what?
And I mean, like, I've never, and I haven't talked with anyone directly who's gone through that. But with that said, I also know this much. There are plenty of shooters and plenty of experiences. And I know this much. There are plenty of wedding photographers out there who are sitting there right now just going,
doesn't matter.
You don't know how bad it can get, bro. Batteries, you think it's that bad? Wait till they just simply say, I'm divorced and I want a refund now and I'll sue you. That's happened so many fucking times and it's just whatever. But whatchamacallit? I had a whole point about that. Batteries, B&H, whatever. The most important thing is when it comes to like my like if I can share like my workflow.
Hey, please. Actually,
yeah.
Before you share workflow, we're gonna pause for a little break and we'll be right back. All right, we're back. We did a little bit of a battery change just to make sure that we don't miss any conversation. But yeah, please continue about your point about the batteries.
Sure. So in terms of the batteries or in terms of what we were just
talking about?
So we were talking about something that I wish more of us could be honest about in terms of photographers. Like, first of all, no one's making bad cameras.
No.
Let's be perfectly blunt. Especially considering that pretty good cameras are already in our cell phones. No one's making bad cameras. But the thing about it is that, even as Canon boys, like, like hardcore, like, you put a Canon camera in our hands, no matter what model, give us about between 30 seconds to 5 minutes, we'll figure it out.
We got it. Got it.
Like, the muscle memory's still going to be there. And we also are familiar with the menu setups and all that good stuff. The reality situation is that companies make really good stuff to the point where they can do things better. Like the Sony autofocus system for certain things, like we were just talking about this.
Killer.
And also the low light performance. Oh,
simple things like I've again. I had to cross the picket line a little bit and started building my Sony gear because I've been doing a lot of videos, and just for the sheer fact that apart from the R7 and newer, all Canon cameras had a 30-minute video recording limit, which is arbitrary because I researched this like years ago. you had to, for tax purposes, had to designate a camera to be either a video camera or a photo camera. So one of the arbitrary things that they said, like if you record videos longer than 30 minutes, it's a video camera, different tax bracket. If you record videos under 30 minutes, it's just like a combo, like the 5D, Mark II, all the way up to your R, my R5, and my R6. All of them are cinema quality video cameras, but has a 29 minute and 59 second limit. I shoot events. I shoot like
Same.
video. So I cannot like keep on pressing record and non-record all the time.
Okay. Can I tell you? I'm just going to share this.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot tell you actually how many times I've recorded video for events with 2 cameras. And then have to like time it to run back and forth.
Yep.
Especially when you're like going, okay, cool. So I set this up over here on that end of the room. I set this up over there on that end of the room. Make sure somebody nearby can go there and like at least make sure no one knocks it over. Hit record, scuttle as fast as
100%.
you can. Go over to the other side, hit record.
But like
time it.
Put like an alarm in your phone to go 25 minutes. Yep, that's what I do in every single burlesque show that I need to film. That's why I have multiple cameras, because like all of my major cameras, luckily, so I have, I got the R7 specifically because it doesn't have a recording limit.
Yeah. Oh, actually, so what, other than that, what else has been your experience with the R7? Because I haven't had the chance to play with that at all.
The R7 is great. It is a crop sensor camera.
Okay.
So that's the only thing. That's why if I were to start my photo gear, and I'm mostly a photographer, the R6 Mark II for the price, killer.
Yep.
Your full frame, no recording limits.
24 megapixels.
24 megapixels. You don't. I know people say, I want 45. I want to zoom in, bro. How many times are you gonna crop into your shot?
Not just that, but I mean, like, the amount of times I've bumped into problems with client stuff because they're going, bro, this is too big. What are you doing? Because they only hear about a huge file at the end of the
Can
process.
you email me the shots? Like, I can send you a Dropbox link after I upload it for 3 hours because it's 15 gigs.
Right?
Right? So,
oh, man.
20, I think for photos, 24 is actually kind of like perfect. You can still blow it up well.
Yeah.
So that's why I think the R6 Mark II, I have the R6. I mean, I'm a little bit tempted to upgrade to the R6 Mark II, but no, I'm not.
I mean, so here's what I've heard as to why I want to jump from the R6 to R6 Mark II, because I was like looking at the R6, but then I was like, the R5 looks to be better. It's better built.
Yeah,
it's more of a workhorse.
R6 Mark II, again, our R's, because I had an R2 and you're higher now, are the first generation of anything, phones, cameras, or whatever. It's going to be a giant leap from the previous generation, but it will still have quirks and bugs. Like the R5 had a problem with overheating. On the video end, if you put 4K, it crops in like 60%. Right?
Gross.
So, when you jump into the R6 Mark II, R5, most of those have been fixed and have been addressed. So the R6 Mark II, you don't crop in anymore, or it's not full 1.6 crop in. I think it's just only 1.1 or 1.3.
Sure.
But more autofocus points, faster autofocusing, and you still have the Canon science. No more overheating issues, yada yada.
It's lighter than the R5 as well, right?
It is lighter than the R5 because again, like it has like a smaller engine, for the lack of a better term. But yeah, that's the reason why I was an R5 shooter for a long time, but I needed something lighter in terms of what data outputs. That's why I took the R6 for photos, because like shooting the R5. 45 megapixels, you do a wedding, and I shoot JPEG and RAW, your 128 gig, 256 gig card, even if it's like, and also the R5 is dual card slots, but one is CFB.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's some quirky stuff.
Yeah, because it has 8K and you can do like 4K 120 frames per second for video. So that CFB version, that's for the high end. But if I'm photographing, Like I'm not gonna have like that card is so fucking expensive.
Yeah.
So like even if it's a dual card stack, I will be just using the SD part, and that's gonna get filled all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
And I have to switch. So the R6 dual SD card slots, fucking great. So like amazing. So I can like power through and shoot as much as I want to. So like and like we're overheating, and then again the R7. I use it for two things. People knock like APS-C or crop censored cameras because they think it's of lower quality. But dude, if you need length, I mean, what do you want to buy like a 100 to 400 lens, or just slap your 70 to 200 onto a crop sensor camera and you still keep your 2.8 aperture rather than like the longer ones are at like 4 or 4 to 5.6. So that's kind of like the reason why I will always still have an APS-C camera if I can in my lineup, just in case like in a wedding where I can't run close, like I'm in a church, I'm too far away.
Yeah.
Slap like an 85 times 1.6, and then it's like an 85 1.4. That will be like what 160 something, like 95 195 millimeter.
I've had too much beer to go there and keep up with that math, but I agree with you.
Yeah, so that's kind of like the reason I think I've like deliberately curated my gear to have this set for everything that I would need in my arsenal. I do have like one detour though. Like everything is everything in my gear, and we'll go back with your stuff. Like everything in my gear specifically created. So I have my R5 for video, R6 for photo, R7 for long form video, APS-C if I need it. Everything works. I still have my the Canon lenses that I've been collecting for 20 years, like 24, 35, 50, 85, 100 macro. And then I have the 16 to 35, the ultra wide to mid. Everybody has that. I opted for the 28 to 70 over the 24 to 70 because the f2 zoom is kind of life changing. It's kind of like I did an entire wedding with just one lens. I didn't have my primes.
Wow, but you know what though? I can see that because you'll have the wide angle for everything, but then the 70 is still good enough for portraits.
You can still good enough for portraits, and it's f2. It's it's two full stops from most of the lenses that we have, like 24 to 70, 70 to 200s. Those are all like, and the 16 to 35s. Our eyes, even professional eyes, we're so used to a 2.8, like the bokeh of a 2.8. We're familiar with that. It's sharp still, but there's still a little bit of fall off. And then we're also used to 1.2s, like the super creamy stuff, right? But those are, you can't do full creamy stuff all the time, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So we're used to 1.2s. F2 is different. It's kind of like an in between where it is way better than a 2.8. You still have the separation. So when I did a full wedding, I had two cameras on me. I had the 28 to 70 and my usual 50 1.2. That's usually when I would do an event. That's what I would shoot at. 95% of my shots were with the 28 to 70 because it was so convenient. I can get 3 frames for every shot. I can do a wide. I can zoom in for like a mid and do like a super telephoto, and then I don't have to move, which is great for events. And then and it's tack sharp. That giant. Again, if you're willing to break your back bringing it, and if you get used to how to bring it, and I did a review on that particular lens, and I was telling people that the RF lenses, it's way newer, it's way more expensive, better nano coating, faster for everything, clear for everything, but what I complain about is like they're way bigger than their EF counterparts. Like, see that 51.2? That is twice the size of, it's lighter though, but it's just like bigger in diameter and longer than our 51.2s. The 85 1.2 RF is twice the size of the 85 1.2 EF, right? Just the size of it. It's lighter though. It's way better.
Is it lighter because it's more plastic? Or?
It's a little bit more plastic. It's a lot of magnesium in there. But again, because the distance between the end of the lens and the
The sensor.
the sensor is a little shorter.
Yeah.
They kind of had to like put a place where the lenses should be there, right?
Okay.
But the good thing about the RF lenses, though, is they're a lot more balanced throughout the barrel. So even if you have like a giant 28 to 70 lens on your tiny Canon R5, R6, or R body, because the lens is a little bit more evenly distributed, it's not top heavy. So
Yeah.
it has better, and I've tested a lot, so it has better ergonomics than when I had my 5D Mark II with no battery grip and a 24 to 7 or 70 to 200. Everything is like toppling forward.
Yeah. Oh man.
So that's kind of like my layout. My deviation has been I made the mistake of watching videos on why Fuji cameras have been such a popular brand the past couple of years.
Oh no. Are you thinking about it?
I thought about it already.
Uh-huh.
I already made the dumb mistake of buying one. Right. So I was just surprised how the Fuji X100V, this point and shoot camera that doesn't fit in your damn pocket, why is the resale value more expensive than brand new?
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, a brand new X100V. It's the Fuji's. They're kind of the flagship point and shoot.
Yeah.
Fixed lens. It's a 21 millimeter f2 lens, right? But it's kind of like it's APS-C. It's their rangefinder line. Buy that brand new $1,200, but it's like $2,000 on eBay because they're not making a lot of it.
Gotcha.
Or they stopped making a lot of it already. So it's like very few. B&H will get like a couple of hundred every few months. So it's kind of like the hipster camera thing that got popular a couple of years ago. It got released 2020. But the thing that made me, I was researching it, and then I realized Fuji film sims are the thing. I was looking for a nice street photography camera.
Yeah.
A JPEG only, something that daily carry. I don't want to think about it. And then I was researching the X100V. I eventually ended up with their interchangeable lens version, which is the X Pro 3.
Yeah.
Because like I'm just not a big fan of fixed lens. Like I go like single lens stuff. So I got that, and that's where kind of very fiscally irresponsible decision of buying a third system.
How many lenses have you bought for it?
It was 3.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
I was sad that I bought it. I was telling my parents like I got a good deal, but no, it's like no, it's fiscally irresponsible because the X Pro 3 is a little bit more expensive than the X100V, but I specifically got it because it's a photographer's camera.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? So everything, and I'll show you later, everything with the X Pro 3 discourages you from using the screen or setting it auto. So there's knobs there for you to, you can you can set the knob to auto shutter, auto ISO, or auto aperture, but it's knobs, so you can actually move it yourself tactically. The flip screen is not articulated; it only flips down.
Right.
So when the screen is closed, you don't see anything. So it mimics an actual rangefinder.
Is there EVF or is it?
There's an EVF and an optical EVF too. That's the other thing too. You can turn off the EVF, make everything optical, so you can go old school.
Holy crap.
So you're like shooting film, but you're not shooting film, right?
Wait.
So that was the thing. So
this is poison for my brain. Don't tell me about these.
I know that
because now I'm intrigued, and now I'm scared that if you put this in my hands, I'm gonna be like, no, but seriously, I've got 2 kidneys. I could sell one.
Hey, we're not gonna. We have another segment where we go through your amazing shots, but this is the segment where
this is what I love, man.
This is the nerdy part where like I like talking about my gear. If I tell my friends about why I spent $1,800 on a camera that doesn't flip, and it's not small enough to fit in my pocket, and etc. etc., they'll be like, why? It's like, no, it's because everything in the camera buying the X Pro 3 made me appreciate photography more because
Yes.
I, our even if our Canon R's and even like a 35-1.8, a tiny lens,
Mhm.
it's not something that you're gonna sling every day, right?
Or even, I think that it's difficult for non-shooters, like who do this for a living,
Mhm.
to understand what we end up appreciating in terms of
Mhm.
like the tactile
Yes.
ergonomics of something that's making you go, hey, remember, you don't just capture shots, you create them.
Yep. Mhm.
Look, you have to now make decisions. Now you also have the excitement of being able to like take shots and not immediately have that feedback.
You have that. And I'm a big fan of developing habits. And the thing with the X Pro 3 in terms of photography is, yeah, in kind of a roundabout way, kind of like it's bringing you back when you were shooting film. So one of the main reasons why Fujifilm has been killing the game the past couple of years, yes, they're developing cameras that are relatively more affordable. The lenses are also affordable, comparable to all the Sonys and the Canons. But the unique thing that they have is the film sims. That you can either go to a website or use their preloaded film sims where like, hey, I want to shoot with a Kodak Porta. I want to shoot with an Agfa whatever.
Yeah.
And then there's like an entire website that kind of like teaches you like this is the recipe if you want to do Porta Gold, if you want to do a Leica sim. So even that in itself is like cool. But that's just a small part of it. The other part of it is like you want to do that because you don't want to shoot raw. I don't want to edit. I want to shoot JPEG straight to the phone or straight to the website.
Yeah.
So that kind of helped me in all of my other stuff where you pre-plan everything. You don't do that habit of it keeps you in the moment because like nowadays, even if you're handing a phone, you shoot somebody and then
they'll go through all the bloody filters.
but also it's like when you take a photo, everybody just like looks at the photo, shares the photo around. You kind of like if I'm in a trip, I want to shoot and that's it. I want to be in the moment. I want to be in the trip. And this because you're not you're not shooting and then like just looking at the lens, pressing some buttons or whatever. That's it. So for me it develops good habit and it made me appreciate more of like what is my style? Am I Kodak Porta 400? Am I T-Max 1600? Am I grainy? Am I a little bit on a cyan tone? I look at all the shots and I review them. It's like, oh, this one, like also the idea that the retro feels like, oh, this looks like film. Doesn't look like it came from your phone, but it did. So it's a digital camera. So that's kind of like made me happy with the Fujifilm, right?
Yeah, I mean, again though, like I have to ask, and this isn't a you question, this is a Fujifilm question. It's like obviously large part of their market is towards photographers. But I mean, are we the only people who will appreciate this, or is it going to be like hipsters who are like,
no, the hipsters appreciate it because it doesn't look like digital. That's one.
Fair enough.
Because you're doing film recipes, exactly film recipes where it's not like the generic filters that we get with our iPhones and whatnot. Because like we understand filters now, right? But most people don't understand like filters are overlaid on your shot to make it look different. If your engine, if your sensor is accepting it differently, there's a unique character in terms of shot. So it's just one of like, if they're trying to be unique, that's the idea. But it also doesn't hurt that Fuji has a great stabilization system.
Yep.
Like you can get anywhere between 1 to 3 stops. Just because if you have like their IBIS on the lens or their or on the there's like the vibration control on the lens and the IBIS on the camera combination, it's kind of look like that. So again, like you were talking, like I will die on the Canon Hill. But now that I've like peeked into like I looked at everything. I looked at the Leica stuff. I'd look at the Lumix stuff.
I was about to ask if you were messing around at all with the SL1s or SL2s.
Those are amazing cameras. They're clunky. So the good thing about them is like they're stable. Like I think the Lumix, the SL ones, it's Panasonic and Leica. So quality is superb.
Yeah.
They have the best stabilization ever. Like it's weird. Like they're towards 6 to 8 compared to what we have, and we already have like 5.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, but like, look, 6 to 8.
So if you're shooting at night or if you're filming at night where you really want to kind of like nail that focus, that's great.
Oh,
But
dude, for me, I think about kind of running and gunning, right? Because I mean, like, between having to make snap decisions when someone is doing something and I have to jerk the camera to get it right, or even if I'm doing like the rare times that I do videography, because one of the main problems that everyone's always had with Canon has been the jiggle effect.
the wobble.
Yeah. And I mean, like, anything that can cut that down without the use of a gimbal and, like, math and Premiere is always a good thing.
Yeah, it's the Canon's IBIS. It's great, but yeah, it does have that. Particularly if you're shooting super wide, you can really see that wobble in the back. But yeah, there's every that's why there's still people that are using SLs.
Right.
People are using the Sonys everybody. Well, the thing is, like, everybody on YouTube is switching to Sony because it's video focused.
Yeah.
We are. But again, if you're a photographer, or even if I dare say if you're like a hybrid shooter, where you're 50-50 photo and video, in the end, Canon's color science will win out.
Sure.
Right. So that's kind of like by default, like. If you're, most of us will not be, even if you pixel peep, you won't see the difference. But Canon science, also the range of lenses of Canon is still unbeatable. I mean,
and also, like, sure, Sony might do something better than Nikon might do something better than better than Canon does so much so well overall that it, in my not so humble opinion, kind of justifies its existence. It's like, excuse me. It might not be the very best past the color science, but it does a whole lot more better than like what this person. And I mean, like, look, my biggest complaint with Sony, and this might be a minor complaint, but it's not. It's the menu systems. Canon's menus make sense. Sony's menu systems are just insane.
The number of YouTube videos I had to watch to teach me how to set up my ZV-E10, which is the one that we're shooting on right now. It's embarrassing because it's like, why do you have to put it there? Why is it there?
Yeah.
Why is this? But again, I also tinkered around with the Fuji system and also the Panasonic system. Canon has spoiled us with an intuitive menu system, which is, again, it's difficult to. These are not just like simple things. So. Canon still has one of the simplest form. Fuji is also very convoluted. Sony is super convoluted.
Have you played around with any of the Nikon, like the Z9 or the Z7 at all?
Yeah, I hate to say, because like I've heard a lot of good things about the new Z series, right? They are doing really, really good photos too. Like, I think Nikon wants to, because remember the day when you're like Canon and Nikon, and most people are just Nikon, because Nikon photos are just like killer, and then their lenses are way cooler and better. I'm really sad that they've fallen off, and they're trying to get back onto the photo stuff.
I think the problem with Nikon is that they simply have lost the advertising game. Because I mean, so I've got an old buddy of mine who is a cinematographer. I've known him for years. I've known him so long that when the Sony A7S II came out, he was the one who told me, "Bro, you don't understand. I shot a scene by moonlight." I was like, "You mean the moon in the sky? You're not talking about a light?" It's like, "Oh, no, by moonlight." And I was like, "That's crazy." So he was a Canon guy. So he had his A7S for his videos. Used Canon for his stills, really whenever he did stills. Now, last time I talked with him, he's like going, "Bro, you're sleeping on the Z9 like no one's business."
Z9 is like, when I bought some accessories for my Sony cameras, because I didn't have any Sony stuff, I went to B&H and tinker around with all the cameras, and it's good. It feels good. Ergonomics are great. The menu system is actually like one of the things. The UX is pretty cool. Everything is very easy to set up. But the problem with Nikon is like I think for a very long time they stuck their guns on the photo stuff, and nowadays everything is hybrid.
Oh, so
Everything is
video
like
work doesn't. So
no, the video work is still good, but if you're gonna do videos and you're gonna say uh, Nikon, no, it's like when you say video, you hear Sony number one, Canon number two, or if it's professional like an Ari or a Red, right?
right? Or even before we get to the professional stuff, Panasonic.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, because I mean, like, those are great.
that's it. That's the thing with Nikon stuff. But before we move on to like discussing your actual amazing photographs, your favorite shoots of 2023, let's close it out. So run us down your gear. You got the R,
Right. 85-18,
85 EF 8518,
RF 35-118.
RF 3518.
I've got like classic lenses I barely use, but those are my two main workhorses.
What is so you've been talking about the RX Mark II a lot. What is it? What are the purchases that you're gunning for next? Or what is like in your wish list that you're okay? This is like the target.
Okay, so before I found out that it didn't quite work if you wore glasses, the R3 with the mind reading. Oh man! Oh my god!
I
was
forced
like
myself to forget about the R3.
I'm sorry. What are we talking about? No, we're talking about the R6 Mark II, bro.
The R3 with the literal eye autofocus. Because like when we talk about eye autofocus, we think about the camera looking at the subject's eye and tracking it for focus. No, the R3's eye autofocus is when you look into the viewfinder and you look at a spot. That's where it's. Oh my god, that is fucking legit. I want that.
But like I said, I heard that it doesn't work for folks who wear glasses.
But if you take off your glasses and just do like the adjustment,
the diopter, I mean, like I'd have to. So my prescription is terrible.
Oh my god!
Like in my lifetime, I have met maybe 5 people whose eyesight is worse than mine. So I'd have to get like one of those like. I'd have to buy a brand new diopter to go there and make that work for me. But I mean, with that said, all things considered, if I also have the money to buy an R3, chances are I've got the money to buy the diopter as well. So, you know, to your point, sure, I should get it. Thank you for
contacts.
Me. Ugh, no, touching eyes. No, I'm good. I'm good. But no, the R6 Mark II for sure. Past that point to then get more heavily invested into the RF lens system. I would love to get honestly, it's the 70-200 just because I need that in my life.
And the good thing about the 70-200 is, of course, if you can get a 2.8, get the 2.8.
Word.
But the f4,
yep,
is even tinier.
Yep.
So light.
Yeah, I'd get that in a heartbeat. I mean, look, and on top of that, the thing about it is shooting at 2.8 is super great as long as you are able to get more keepers than not. Mm-hmm. But when you are like the kind of work that I do where I'd have to have the 7200, it's like lots of moving parts, like lots of people moving in unison, where I'm like going, like, of course I'm actually there, like, you know, getting the shot, going for it, but in my head I'm going, oh boy, okay, cool. I hope that the focus landed on the right face on that one.
Yeah,
oh, no,
well, I was gonna say, I head autofocus and then just like.
Yep, and you just go and say to yourself, I hope this works.
I hope it's the right head that is focused on.
Word. And then otherwise, you know, I've been trying to look at new light systems because I've been an Alien Beast guy forever.
That's the other thing that I wanted to close this out. So, like, you and I were, you know, Paul C. Buff boys.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
All right. Paul.
Rest in peace, by the way.
Wait, what?
You didn't know Paul C. Yeah, he died a few years back, bro.
Man,
I'm sorry. I'm bringing up bad news.
I was saying, like, we were. It was funny when we first spoke, and we were both shooting Alien Beast. Like, I thought, like, I was like one of the few people that Alien beat, but I have since upgraded to a wireless.
Yeah. So,
are you still rocking the B800s?
Yep, I am.
Do you have that 85-inch? Parabolic. What softbox are you using? Right
okay, so I see you've got the Easy Lock over there. I've got the Easy Lock 43-inch is one of my mains.
Does Easy Lock have like an Alien Beast adapter, or like are you you're doing a Bowens mount?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, not a Bowens mount. The Balcar. So you can actually, so that's the generic name for the alien bees. So off
backer, yeah.
Amazon, all I have to do is just make sure
Balance
that I get the right
backer.
diameter to then replace the mount, so it works just fine. And they can get it from Adorama actually, so
Yeah.
that's great. So I've got that. I've got 8-inch reflectors, 7-inch reflectors with 30-degree grids. I've got a 15-degree grid just in case. I've got, I mean, honestly, you know, like when in your gear class it's a little bit too big,
Yep.
so therefore it's got to
Fill
be
it up.
filled. It's like, and it's stuff that you barely use, except for that one time you're going, oh,
I got a little bit of space in this closet. Like I can do another C stand, right? Yeah, why not?
I mean, for me, I've got like a huge octobox I haven't used since 2017. It's back there.
Yeah.
But I did get myself scrims.
Ooh.
Like, so, and this is like,
Yeah,
so,
I was gonna say, like, I know you go-boed one of those shots that you sent. I was like, fuck it.
yeah, so I did. So I have like a whole host of scrims now, which
Nice.
is great. But yeah, I do also have a gobo system, which has also been really fun to play
Mhm.
around with. But the thing about it is, I feel that the problem with gobos is everyone kind of just shoots it all flat.
Got
Like
it.
it's directly on axis
Mhm.
to the subject, and it's like, oh, cool! Look at you with a door, right? Or
Little
wow,
crack,
Venetian
yeah.
blinds. That's cool. And I'm by no means I'm saying that I'm not doing that as well, because
Yeah.
I certainly am. But I feel so dumb when I do it without trying to figure out, one, what's the story I'm trying to tell, and two, can I tell it in a more interesting way?
Got it. Mhm.
But yeah, I mean that's basically been about it, bro. In
Right.
terms of like, in terms of gear.
No, I mean, again, you know, you have a lot of gear. I'm not saying that this is like, like you're doing leaps and bounds beyond the stuff that you have, but a lot of people will need a lot more gear to take the shots that you take, right? Like a lot more, like, you know, a lot bigger modifiers, a lot more lights.
That's okay. So that's fair. I mean, like, look, I am also really lucky to have come across really smart light people who basically said, use your environment to your advantage
Mhm.
to make it work more like other light modifiers. It's like just pointing your light into the corner of a white room to use the room as a giant softbox. You know, things like that. But yeah, so that's about it.
I mean, it's like I'm like in between. I upgraded all my stuff, but in the process, I also trimmed out. So I used to have a couple of B400s and a B800.
Yeah.
And I always like the I always like the 3 light setup, and which is weird because the 2 lights is always just to wash the background.
Yep.
If I had like a bigger space where, you know, weird. I mean, because of the way that my apartment is set up, there's always going to be shadow on the backdrop, which I kind of hate. So it's like
Yeah.
I want clean shadows or shadows to fall on the floor, not on the backdrop. So I use 2 lights just to wash the backdrop or to kill some shadows. But when I upgraded to a wireless system, I did the 8200s. I have 2 8200s, which is the Flashpoint / Godox brand.
Okay.
Super cool, relatively affordable.
Mm-hmm.
They're like 100 and they say it's listed as 150 watts. It's not. It's probably 100. So even at max power, you really can't use bigger modifiers. And just recently, just a couple of days ago, just for my shoot with Puss and on my consequent shoots in the next few days, because I'm still a little bit on vacation, I got the 8400, which is an actual 400 watt wireless thing. It is great. So now it's like it's completely wireless. I can move it in different parts of the apartment without having to trip, but also for me it's just a little bit easier to pack. Like I have a nice setup where I have one of my Pelican cases just for lights all set up later. We'll geek around there later, but that's kind of like my lighting setup. I had to get different sorts of modifiers like this global
Yeah, like
bulb thing.
that is a beautiful,
Yeah, but
beautiful lady.
that fucking it's crappy for photography, but it's for when
Video.
when I do like talking head videos on YouTube.
Mhm.
That's what I kind of do. So,
Can we take a really quick break?
of course.
Thanks, mate.
All right, we're at the last segment of this episode, and again, I could talk to Theik for days,
Yeah.
which is not healthy but very fun.
Word, especially if we have more of the spirit cooking. It's fantastic.
Amazing beer,
Mhm.
nerdy gear talk.
Word's on.
But again, we're photographers.
Word.
We can't have a photography podcast without talking about photos, actual photos. And I've gushed about how I admire all of Theik's shots, but I always want to talk about people on what they prefer the most, like their favorite. So Theik sent 5 photos over because I wanted to talk over his favorite shots of 2023, his favorite shoot of 2023.
So far.
So far, we're only in August. We're recording this in August, so there's going to be plenty of time left. But we've discussed a couple of his favorite shots from the other episodes. This is a fresh new batch, and here we're just going to run through them for those audio listeners. In the episode description, I will link to all of these photos. We'll number them 1 through 5, and then we'll label them as Theik describes it. So, first shot. When was this? Why is this your favorite? And who is this of? Describe it for the viewers.
So this is a high key image of a young woman in a white slip. It is fantastically, wonderfully blurred to the point that it looks almost like a watercolor painting. I feel it's graceful, it's ethereal, it's beautiful, and I love it because it was actually a misfire.
I was gonna ask. I was like, because I'm a bokeh addict.
Uh-huh.
If I get a lens, I barely go to an aperture above it's wide open, right? So I'm a big fan of, again, movement, motion blurs. I thought that this was Photoshop. This is a great misfire.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. I really love it.
Yeah. So the quick story behind this one is, so for the record, this is a dancer by name of Julia.
Mm-hmm.
She is a phenomenal talent. She was actually in the Star Wars burlesque show.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, and now she's like on tour doing, like, taking over the world and just being a badass. But this particular shoot, though, what I loved about it was she came in and challenged me to do things that photographically and from a light design perspective that I was just like going, yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do, but let's figure it out. and so we did, and it was great. But this shot in particular, though, it was about capturing the sense of movement. But I also did have one main flash on her. But Alien B, sometimes they misfire.
100%.
And this one didn't. And but I was making sure to capture enough of the ambient light where we had this as its base. And I just really loved it in post, where I then just kind of pulled up the exposure a little bit more, gave it a little bit more saturation, but by and large, man, this is what was caught in camera, and I just love it.
All of Theik's shots are great, but the idea of it is some people will look at it, it's blurry, it's like multi-exposure kind of thing or whatever. This wasn't, again, I could really see that this wasn't intended, but if you look at it, some people will interpret it differently, because I look at this as, it's weird because all of your shots are super dynamic, and then a lot of your poses are very, very movement heavy. You can really see legs splayed, eyes back bent, and whatever. This is movement in a different version.
Yes.
Right? It's it is that blur. It is kind of like that multi-exposure thing. It is like what you mentioned, misfire. I looked at it, it's like, oh, that's like a different take on Theik movement when I was looking at it. So I really appreciate it. So shout out Julia and your white slip.
Word.
Even if it's you can't see the face clearly, everybody knows that that's a gorgeous, gorgeous lady in this high key photograph.
Absolutely.
Picture number 2.
This is out.
This is classic Theik pose on the damn floor. I don't go that low, bro. Like,
So true story. So I tend to shoot sitting down. Like I've got something on the edge of one of my feet because like I sit cross-legged and I tend to shoot up because I want to have the most dynamic
Same.
angle possible. So yeah, so this one I like being on axis, especially when we are like this low on the ground, because I want the subject to fill the frame as much as possible, and especially then do some really dopeness.
So,
And,
so this is a black and white image of
dancer by the name of Alex.
Alex.
Mm-hmm.
She seems Asian.
Yeah, she's half and half.
She is on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Again, high heel boots, but on the floor. That is already like, even me looking at it, like, that's painful, dude. I don't want to do that.
Oh,
But
I mean, out of everything else that in terms of poses that we did that day, this was like pretty easy piece
That's
of
awesome.
crazy for.
and there is one light, two maybe.
No,
It's like there. It's like it's on like image top left down, and then a little bit on the back, so that this it's like it's all top.
yeah, exactly, right.
It's all
Like,
top.
So what you're going to be seeing is kind of like this one particular theme, I think, for all these images. And I'll point it out. If not, one light,
Dope.
just
Dope.
one light. Yeah.
See, I mean, it's just I shoot one light, but we shoot so differently.
Yeah. I
Like
mean,
it's so wildly different.
and one of the things though is like for this particular light, it's a hard light too. And in terms of the black and white treatment of it, I wanted the blacks to be crunchy. I wanted to also draw attention to the pattern of the jacket that she's wearing,
Interesting.
as well as like she's wearing some really cool jewelry on her arm.
Yeah.
But she's also like completely naked underneath the jacket, and she's got like the boots. And I wanted to emphasize like the musculature of her
Yep.
and like the curves of her into like these hard contrasty lines of the boots, which again like super thin stiletto heels and her hair's up and just looks dope to me.
Yeah, so many angles or so many lines and triangles that really makes your eye move. Again, this is a landscape shot, so it's like a horizontal shot. When you look at it left to right and up and down, you're gonna see like there is, even just viewing it, there's already movement where like I'm looking at the heels, I'm looking at the knee. Look at these giant quads with muscles on them. Oh, look at this arm across my chest. Look at those bracelets, and look at that awesome waist, and then the jacket falling down to the hands. It's like, yeah, it's like everything is filled. And the thing that I envy in all of your shots, because like 60% of my time when I'm editing my shots, it's not actually the subject. All of my edits on the backdrop.
I never said I didn't edit out any.
But that's the thing. It's like when I look at your shots, like your backdrop is always very purposeful. It's like I don't see bleed in the subject, but this shows again like you have some space between your subject and the backdrop, so that the shadows is on the floor.
Well, for something like this, yes. In fact, hold on. If I can remember how far away she was from the backdrop, I would say probably close to 5, maybe 6 feet.
Yeah, that's a good.
Oh,
That's
wait.
a good enough distance. Yeah.
Yeah. But with that particular light, how it was just dropped down, like because I also lift up high, drop down at a pretty stark angle for something
Interesting.
like this. And on top of that, I also just wanted to have like purposely crunchy shadows.
Yeah.
So
This looks great. So
Thanks,
image 2 of Alex.
Alex, yes.
Alex.
I'll go ahead and give you like their Instagram so people
100%.
can like go out there, follow them as well, because they're amazing, wonderful people.
They, I mean, like there's no duds, there's no misses, no skips in the Theik Instagram feed. No skips. That's what we call it.
Thank you.
Image 3. This is like the first image that we talked with Julia.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's like, okay, this is highly, like for me, this is a non-Theik shot. That's why I was very like it, right? It's just a girl looking right. So like, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second shot, Theik shot to the T, on the floor, like dropped shadows, weird ass pose. And then image 3 is just like the next step beyond the usual Theik poses that I see. It's like this is like walk us through this amazing laying down shot.
So yeah, a lot of really cool laying down shots this year. So this one is a burlesque dancer slash dancer by name of Jax. Jack Attack. Definitely have.
Whoa,
Yeah. Oh, you didn't know? Yeah, this is Jax.
Jack and we're scheduled to shoot next Tuesday.
Oh, well then. Tell her I said
I will definitely do. I was just like,
yeah.
yeah, she did. One of my closest friends, Frankie Eleanor's Nurse Betty,
Yes.
last week or
Yeah.
2 weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's like I always kind of like all the shots we added
Yep.
each other. Just like oh, I'm free in the next couple of weeks if you want to shoot. It's
Yeah.
like awesome, this is great. I'm definitely going to show her this shot.
Oh, please do.
Mhm.
So what I loved about this was I wanted it to be a Louis Vuitton commercial.
I was just gonna say,
You know, like it's edgy, it's sexy, it's daring, but it's also like I feel that there's so much strength and power here, you know, and it's about her making choices and you making choices to buy those shoes because holy shit, look at those shoes.
it's what I'm looking at again. It's very editorial when I look at it, and you said it yourself. I my description is like this is a Louis Vuitton commercial, right?
Mhm.
This is like one of those things where you can find like a half page ad on like
Yeah.
a Vanity Fair. Very simple, very clear. If you describe it for the non-viewers as a lady laying down with one leg up, right? Simple, but
Yeah.
if you look at it, it's like those are Louboutins.
Yeah.
The
Those,
other
those bloody shoes.
those red bottom shoes, but also the other red bottom. So you can see the underneath
Mm-hmm.
of the stiletto, the heels. But on the other side, the other leg with the left leg planted down on the floor, you can see the actual profile, the
Mhm.
color, and the look of the actual shoe covering like a very, very intimate part. So it's
Yep.
kind of like everything you look at is like, oh, dope.
Yep.
And then she's wearing a trench,
Yeah.
fur coat.
Yeah, it's a fur coat.
Yeah, laying down. Even the decision on the streak.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a little bit of like a light streak that is falling onto your
To the
white backdrop.
Mm-hmm. To go ahead and give us like, you know, that isosceles triangle
100%.
basically. And it just helps guide everyone's eye. And also I like light streaks
Mhm.
when I'm in control of them.
Yeah.
So
Or they're purposely done and not like a flare that they came into your
where
camera.
you're like going, I did not mean to imitate
No.
J.J. Abrams today.
100%.
My bad, guys. We
And-
should, yeah.
This seems like this is Gobo.
It is actually.
Yeah, there you go.
Good catch. Good
Because like
catch.
the floor has like a very distinct like beam of light just onto her. So it's like this is like again all the focus is putting you on the subject that is on the floor, both the flare in the background or like the light spill in the background, but also the actual light. Again, it's like again a killer. This is again the commercially viable Theik Smith shot. This is it. This is it.
And again, like Jax was really happy with the shot. I'm really happy with the shot. I mean, like, and again, you describing as editorial and would look at home in
Mhm.
like a magazine ad. That's also like, you know, just all these layers, man.
Yeah, it's one of again. You can't say that it is commercially viable, but also not. You know, commercially viable and artistic editorial, they're not mutually exclusive. You can overlap
Yep.
them in a way. It
Yeah.
can be artistic. You know, I can look at this like, oh, this is artsy and purposely done. But I could also just like just laying down, kicking your feet up. So all that's just it makes it more approachable for any viewer to look
Yeah.
at it too. Right. So Jax, holla, it's great.
Word.
And then the next. So this is just more fun. I'm like very interested in how on why you picked this particular shot for this particular model.
Mhm.
Like what describe the setting.
Super noir, like black and white, heels, stockings, blonde dopeness.
Boy, like what do you call this? Like boy cut, crew cut, like really.
Yeah, I mean, so this is Laura Desiree.
Mhm.
She is, amongst other things, a journalist, a burlesque dancer. She worked for Naked News for a while.
Awesome.
one of the smartest people, like, oh my, like one of the smartest people I've met this year.
Nice.
Oh my God, her brain moves so fast. Like, and she's from Canada, but she talks as fast as a native New Yorker. I'm like going, I am enjoying this conversation. And she was just such a gas to go there and shoot with. And she and we wanted to create images like this, which are sleek and, you know, if they're sexy, that's dope. But also we wanted to go there and like live on the other side of the edge,
Interesting.
where it isn't about necessarily about being something smutty, but it's about power, about fun, about, as I would always say, dopeness.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I love it too. I mean, also, like, look at the light fall on this. I mean,
It's
like,
just perfect because, like, you have, you're right. This is very, if I had the word for it, it's super edgy.
mhm.
I like the edge, but you're talking about the light fall. It's like perfectly on one side of the face with a little bit of shadow on the other side, so that there's a little bit of dynamism in there.
Mhm.
Even just like the sole of the feet and the heels, like
Yep.
that highlight there
Mhm.
makes it look like I don't want to see the entire shoe, but having the highlight within the balls of the feet, or
Mhm.
like in the
The
middle
balls of feet and in the arches.
the arches of the feet,
Mhm.
perfect. Highlights that like very long heel too. And and then she has long stockings, matches with long gloves.
Yep.
Grabbing on the butt,
Mm-hmm.
right? But because this is such a weird pose, you don't concentrate on one particular fact. Like even like I'm looking at it, I don't know if like the nipple is
nipple.
pressing.
So the nipple's actually hidden by the thigh.
There you go. So I was just like, is it pressed by the thigh, hidden by the thigh? It's under. It doesn't matter because like I'm looking at the grab on the butt. I'm looking at the face, looking the hair.
Mm-hmm.
The hair is perfect for this. Like, she's blonde, right?
I'm sorry?
She's blondie?
Yeah, she is.
It's great. It's like it rendered real good with this particular conversion in black and white.
Yeah. Black and white conversions, I think, are. I know that when I first started shooting, I felt that they were way too easy to do.
Control shift you.
Exactly. You're like, all right, cool. Just desaturate the entire thing.
Yep.
It's artsy now, and it's not. However, there is something to be said about learning how to look at the world black and white primarily, because it's about being able to identify textures, and shapes and tones. So then when you do shoot in color, what you then discover is color then serves a particular purpose.
Yeah.
Someone much smarter than I said that I think it's a great thing to parrot. So that's that. But yeah, I love the shot of Laura.
Yeah, I mean, the usual adage, like, if you shoot in color, you shoot the clothes. If you shoot in black and white, you shoot the soul. You shoot the person. So
I like
that's
that.
and that's the good thing about black and white. Every time I shoot, when my sort of system is every shoot, 12 shots edited for the model, and then I'll probably add some stuff for me.
Okay.
Right, but like I always look at it, it's like you'll get at least 12 shots, and probably more if I like more. I don't want to over deliver and give them like 25 shots, but that's kind of my limit. But every time I edit, it's going to be the clean edit, just like the regular colored. I'll convert it into black and white, and I convert it into kind of like a more of a vintage cyan tone that I like. It's like personally every time, but I have all of that action preset in my in Photoshop, so it's not kind of it's still not control shift you. It's the usual black and white conversion where you either turn off some either red, blue, or green layers. But I have that kind of like baked in, and then that's when I kind of look at it's like, oh, you're right. Sometimes you if you want to shoot in black and white, there's a certain method in looking at it, certain way of like seeing it. And this is kind of like I was like, this is for me. It's fun because she's like, there's that little snarl, that strong look, and it's just again a pose that I will never ask any of my models to do. I have my models do some weird shit.
Yeah.
I also do erotica, which I can't post on Instagram and on Facebook.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of stuff that I do. And this is one of the things like, why have I never shot a model with her legs on the way back on the side? It's like, well, this is just like it's fascinating to see how these things organically come out with your shots.
What's funny is that for me, so much of how poses and shots come together, I think, comes from my primary language I use is movement based.
Yeah, yeah. Mhm.
Especially when we are talking about people like Laura, like everyone actually, like in every single one of these shots, these are trained dancers, these are fantastic movers, these are people who have spent a long time learning different movement modalities. My strength as a movement photographer is one, understanding I don't know everything. And so I defer to the model, especially when I'm like going, dude, I don't know where your body's existing today. I don't know what aches and pains, especially like once you're past like 25
No.
and then like certain things just start clicking when you stand up, you know, but you know enough about yourself to know like mama can't give you back bends, but she can give you full splits. All right, let's go with that, you know,
awesome.
and then aim to craft the pose from where they are in space.
That's awesome.
You know, so that's how I like to approach it. So for something like this with Laura, it's like, you know, she's got amazing flexibility. Her legs are stupendously long. She's like 6'1" without heels.
Oh, like my size. My
Yeah, exactly. Right.
100%. 6'1".
Yeah.
You know.
And it was like showing off the flexibility of her legs and her back, because like to be able to hit that pose, I'm looking at it, and to be honest with you, my lower back is starting to hurt. Like I just don't have that flexibility in my hamstrings and my lower back. And
That's the thing. It's like, again, it's like one of those things where every time I look at your shots, it's like a pose that I would never do, thankfully, because like, again, I'm so glad that we're like different ends of the spectrum,
Right.
because I'd be very, very angry. It's like, fuck, he did it again. No, it's like, I will never do that.
Right.
The lighting, I'm always jealous of, but I was like, in my head, I was like, if I had space, I'd probably be able to do these. But like, and they're like, no, that's not my thing. Like, even if I had 10 more feet to have people do splits, like I don't appreciate splits and back bends the way that you do.
Word. But the thing about it is, so now this goes to like the things that we appreciate about each other's work, because the stuff that I've always appreciated about your work it's been about the emotionality. It's been about a capturing of a certain kind of spirit. But also your lighting has always been consistently fucking amazing, bro. I mean, like, seriously. And I mean, like, and I know that both of us kind of live in the world of like shadows and highlights. Absolutely. But there's always been, like, when I've looked at your work and it said to myself, oh, all right, I feel kind of crappy about myself today. That's okay. That's okay. He's a great guy. He's a great guy. He's a legend.
No,
That's
I
what he
appreciate
felt
it.
on.
Again, but I also,
But my point is simply this: is that we are motivated by different things, and those motivations then create different posts. For instance, I don't shoot erotica.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's great, but it's not what I'm interested in shooting, and therefore I don't have much to say about it. However, you do, which is why your shots will therefore be amazing, because it's not just about having something to say; it's also having the skills and the acumen to say it. You know what I mean? To execute those ideas appropriately.
And that's why, I mean, whenever I look at your work and some of the other photographers that I really admire,
Yeah.
the thing that is consistent across with them is you always found a way to align your interests with your art. Like your fight choreography, your choreography period, and your photography, it complements and blends each other well, and it makes both better. Like,
Yeah.
you choreograph to how people would document it, like film it or photograph it.
Right.
And then you photograph and you can ask or communicate with your subjects how to move in a way that you can highlight their strengths in their movement also, but your strength in your capture. Again, even if we shoot, like, fitness is a place where we kind of shoot the same, or we're kind of like overlap.
Yes.
But the idea of it's like, your fitness is way different with my fitness, even if the lighting is almost the same.
Oh yeah,
Right?
because there are certain light subs that both of us tend to gravitate towards, where it's like, because I've seen some of your shots show up in my feed, I'm like going, did I shoot? No, I did not. That was
It's like,
not me.
if it's like, again, I like stillness, I like simplicity, and that may be a function because of my space. Like, I always think about that. It's like, if we traded shoot spaces for a year, would I be doing a lot more like wide, full body? Because again, most of my shots are 3/4 because I hate my molding.
Yeah.
I hate it. I like every time I have to roll down my backdrop. It's like I fucking hate lowering my backdrop. It sucks. But I was like, if I had an actual studio, will I be doing more full body? Will I be doing? I actually think no. I'm gonna stick with the head.
See, but I also think that even if you did have the space, what you will discover is what you'll want to say with more full space. And I don't think that you'll want to say the same things I do because, again, I think that if you, here's my prediction. I think that if you were to shoot full body, what you'll discover is definitely more crouching shots.
Yeah.
Right? I think that you'll discover more full length, like shots of people laying fully down. Maybe.
Interesting.
But I don't think that, again, like I'm fascinated in helping everyone look like a fucking superhero.
Yeah.
Like that's my jam. I want you to look like a superhero. And especially when it comes to photographing women or like femme bodies, my jam there is I want to celebrate muscle. I want to celebrate strength. I want to celebrate power. I want to say fuck you to very particular people who've told close friends of mine, oh yeah, like no, you need to shave off like 2 inches of muscle to go there and be like a model. Like you need to go and like, you know, like lose 10 pounds or 15 pounds off a 130-pound frame already with an 8-pack. So that way you can go there and like sign up with this agency and XY fucking Z. And I hate that shit with a fiery passion, like a power homes in the Midwest. I can't stand it. And so, but that's part of what drives me and why I shoot the way that I do. You know, so
yeah, but I think that's the thing. It's like, you know, the reason why I'm bringing this podcast back is, you know, I've enjoyed a lot of people's work from afar. There's no reason for it to, you know, it's weird that a lot of the communities, different communities or different hobbies, there's always like a toxic sect in every one of them. Like if you like anime, like this group doesn't like that group. That, you know, it's like whatever.
Right. It's like people who go there and argue about which one's a better action one, like My Hero Academia or Dragon Ball Z, and some asshole goes One Piece. Shut up.
A lot of our subjects, a lot of our friends are performers, and you know, to a certain extent, it is, you know, it is. There's a lot of drama. There's a lot of issues around a lot of any community. Even with the photography community, there is a level of gatekeeping. There's a level of like, oh, I'm gonna do my own signature thing, and I'm not gonna tell anybody how I shot it.
Right,
dude. Like I can download your shot, put it on an XF reader. I can copy exactly the way that you shot, but it's not gonna look the same. I can tell you, I can give you my camera, my lens, my shutter speed, my aperture, how I set up the light, but your trigger finger and my trigger is different. Your instruction to the subject and my instruction is different. So to a certain extent, I appreciate that everybody is trying to one-up each other because that's competition. Competition trade. But I'm never a fan of gatekeeping. It's like the idea of it is like, dude, if you want to see me shoot, come shoot. I have like, well, as long as they're okay seeing other people, there's not an issue because I can give you all the instructions. You can never copy my shot. You can give me all the instructions. I can never copy a shot, and that's a thing to celebrate.
I'm reminded of Peter Hurley, the very famous headshot photographer who pioneered the white backdrop shots. But he was giving talks back in the day, and there's this one talk that he gave where, and this is still, I think it was either at B&H or Adoram or whatever, where he was like, where someone asked him a question about how he shoots, and he was like, oh, you want to know how I shoot? This is what I shoot. I use at the time it was a Hasselblad shooter. I got a Hasselblad H40. I use like the 80 millimeter for this, 120 for this.
Giant shoot through umbrella and a white background. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, oh no, because at the time he was rocking the the Kino flows.
Oh.
So he was using the Kino flows as constant light, but he had two B400s on his background when he wanted to make it perfectly white. He's like, this is my retoucher, Joe Barna from at the time Colorworks NYC. In Lightroom, these are my settings. This, and you'll never be able to do what I do.
No.
Because he knew, like, at the end of the day, what should separate you as a photographer is your direction, your choices. Those are the things that matter most, you know. And it's true. I mean, like, I know this much. I don't have your experience shooting certain things, and so I already know, because we all remember what it's like to be a baby photographer in a room just going, I don't. But even
What is ISO again?
It's ISO again, but also, how do I direct this? I don't know. But also, like, we shouldn't walk away with the same shot with the same subject. Shoot rapport matters, number one. And certain types of shots that would come easily to you, I would never think of, and vice versa. And I also understand why some people gatekeep, because to them, it's like, well, it's very easy for me, and if it's easy for me, therefore it'll be easy for you. If it's easy for you, then you can seal my job, and there aren't enough jobs out there. I get that part of it, but it's also like, to your point, is that really true?
No, again, it's yeah. Hey, I am guilty of gatekeeping a lot of stuff when I was on the come up.
Yeah.
And then what I realized was, like, it took me a hell of a longer time to get to a place where I was comfortable, because I was thinking about everybody else.
But you know what, though? It reminds me of stand-up comedians. It's like when you're first starting off, you only have so many jokes.
Yeah.
You've only got so many minutes on stage that are good. So if someone steals one of your jokes when you're first coming up, that's the end of the world for you. But you're in the game for 10 years, right? And you've been doing it for a long time, and you understand certain things about your craft. And it's not just about what kinds of jokes you have, it's how you deliver them and all that good stuff. And then you can feel far more comfortable giving away 100%. The game.
It's also the idea of, I wish 15 years ago when I started, 20 years ago when I started photography, somebody really embedded the idea that's like, find something that you enjoy. It's like the idea is like, I've known that ever since. In every single thing that I do, it's like, do what makes you happy. And I kept on saying yes, and I kept on saying I understand, but I never really did until like maybe 8 years ago when I became an adult. Because in the end, it's like, find the thing that makes you happy, because when it makes you happy, you research more, you try more, you are more you're more able to absorb mistakes, you're riskier, because like because you love it so much. Like, even if it's knitting, it's photography, it's whatever, if you find the thing that you like, you know, photography is my hobby, it's my meditation, it's what calms me. Every day that I do it, or every time that I do it, I think deeply, what do I like about the photography? And at first I was like, of course, like, hey, I'm a warm-blooded young man. Little chicks.
Right.
Yeah, I'm unapologetically, like, I thought it was like my gateway to chicks. In the end, actually, it's the opposite. Like, you should not shit where you work or where you eat, right? So I really dug in deeper every more. It's like, now everything that I do about photography makes me happy. Researching about a camera, buying a new gear, even if it's fiscally irresponsible, it makes me extremely happy. And the same way tricks down to the shooting. I always thought, like, oh, when I first started off, this is how you shoot a headshot. It has to be clear. It has to be f8, 125 to 250.
Right.
Need 3 lights and a reflector. And then for a long time, because I wanted to do portraits, that's something that I kind of knew that I wanted to do. So up close, it's simple. It's just a face, right? Yeah. So that's kind of like, all right, I can work with that, because, you know, I don't want to go traveling around the world shooting mountains. I wanted to shoot faces. Yeah. Hear stories. But I was like, hooked to, like, this is the way you shoot it, because this is what this person does. This is the textbook say how the textbook says. In the end, it's like, that's not fun for me. I don't want to set up 3 lights. I want to do 2 maybe max if I can.
Yeah.
But I loved it so much. We're like, all right, let's make that work. Let's experiment on how to do great portraits with two lights. Let's experiment to make great portraits on one light. I do most of my portraits at 0.95. I have like I'm a crappy Midicon 0.950, 0.95.
You're insane.
Because like in the end, what I really like, well, the thing that I like about a face is just the eyes and the lips.
Oh,
all
okay,
I
never
want.
mind. Yeah, I mean, you are insane, but that makes perfect sense.
So if I just like I have one light behind me,
Mm-hmm.
I'm in front of like a giant octabox or a softbox modifier. I'm between the model and that softbox. I'm just shooting dead straight. Super simple. So
Wait, so you're shooting at 0.95.
0.95,
What's your shutter speed?
160, ISO 50,
Wait, 160?
160. Yeah.
ISO 50.
ISO 50.
What's your power at?
128 of a for 400, like my B800s, just like all the way
Right.
1/16th, right? It's like the B800s.
Yeah, so
all the way 1/16th. But
do you turn off your ambient?
yeah, well, no, I don't need to, because the idea of that is it's a plain white background. So when I shoot that, and for the viewers and the listeners, I'll put some samples of what I had there. It's like me being in between the softbox and the model cuts down the light a lot.
Oh, so you're using
Right.
yourself as like
Yeah.
a what, a scrim?
A scrim, kind of like it could be a gobo too, because
Right, because you're in between.
in between, but I started doing that because I saw that this is years and years ago when Ryan Johnson was on the up and up.
Wow.
He's like the gobo master. He loves having weird catch light.
Gotcha.
And I realized when I shoot that, when you zoom into the subject eyes, you're in the catch light.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, I keep on joking, and I know this is no longer like politically correct to say, particularly with strangers, like, I'm inside of you.
Oh, Jesus.
Because like you're in their catch light. So that's kind of like when I was researching a way to cut down on my setup time and my light, I just want one thing, but I still want it clean. I want it soft. And then every element of it just fell into place. Like, oh, this is very me.
Yeah.
It's fuzzy, like everything bokeh, everything falling off. Clean, simple and stoic and easy.
Yeah.
So that's what made me happy. If again, it's just totally different from what makes you happy, because like you want that movement. Like I will not appreciate muscles rippling, because in the end, every time I see a dancer or like a ballerina, a burlesque person doing splits and backflips and whatnot, I get distracted. I'd be like, shit, I'm so out of shape.
Wait, for the record, I feel that way too. Just to let you know.
It's different.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty awesome. So that's the another. So this is the perfect way to kind of like segue to the end of this episode, because this last shot that you shared, if I'm not mistaken, this is one of the burlesque legends that we have.
Yes, indeed.
In
Felicia Lachat.
Yeah, so I've seen her in a show a few times, and this is very Hollywood classic film. And then I'm looking at this when you send this to me via email, when I ask you for your favorite shoots in 2023, it's like, oh, this is a shot that I would have taken. Like this is like, oh, this would have been like, this is very cool to understand. Like, I'm so used to your dynamic studio shots. You in a location,
Yeah.
right? It's probably a dressing room, her dressing room, some dressing
Her
room.
dressing room is in her home, actually. So, so Delicia and I, we go ways back. We went to college together.
Oh,
Actually,
awesome!
yeah. So, I got to see the seeds that were planted that grew into this mighty oak. So I'm getting a little bit deep and maybe a little bit
Please.
sad. Last year I lost my father to prostate cancer.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. And I went through, like, me and my family went through the entire process with him. So, but I was the one who ran point in terms of like helping facilitate care and all that good stuff. So that was a journey. And then Delicia went there and, made a post about how she had discovered that she had been diagnosed with cancer. And I felt, I felt terrible for my friend. Grateful that we live in this fantastic, futuristic, modern world of medicine where the treatments that are available to things that used to be death sentences are amazing. But I also knew that this was going to be incredibly difficult, and therefore I felt helpless. I did, and I wanted to help in some way. And there aren't very many things I can do particularly well, but one of the things I can do is photograph.
Yeah.
And if she was down, I thought I would love to be a part of any part of this process, even if it's just cheering on the sidelines, going, "Hey, dude, here's some cat memes. I hope your day goes by a little bit easier."
And every little thing helps.
Yeah, word.
Yeah.
So I reached out to her, and she was very she was down. We got together, me, her, and her husband. We talked about life, what she was going through, but also what we could create on the day. And we got a lot of really awesome shots. And they also were just so kind and accommodating, especially her. She's the one who's going through all this shit. I'm just going, "Hey man, I'm just here to take some photos, man. If this works, it works." But what I love most about this shot is this is one of these iconic looks in her repertoire. It's also her particular dressing room. And it's one of those things where if you know her, this is a great representation of this part of her life.
Got it.
Also, look at that light fall.
I was going to say, there's, the artistic sense of it, this is this wonderful Black woman sitting in front of her vanity. There's stuff written on vanity, which I was going to ask you about, a few books. So it's very well staged in general, but
Was all her?
On the lighting sense, did you light this or this was natural? Because this is that's a great rim.
Thanks, man.
It's I
So, I've got my B800s, but also I have these Yongyo flash tubes that also are fantastic for small spaces, especially when you don't need it to have so much light. You need the right kind of light. They're great. And it's just a matter of knowing your ratios and angling them and all that good stuff.
So it's two, one speed light on the left and one speed light on the right.
Exactly.
It's perfect. I'm saying, so this is why sometimes it pisses me off when I talk to people like you. It's you're rocking the EF1A, right? I got all L's of all sizes.
Yeah, word, you've got that big boy gear, son.
I got pretty much everything on 3 systems, and I'm looking at this this is a stellar. I don't think this is just one of those things where, woo, simple shots. It's well lit. I could, if you trick some wannabe photographer, it's tell me how many lights is there. There's 3 speed lights and a couple of scripts here and there, bro. It's no, it's
But you know what's funny though is for me the most important thing was, number one, how she felt about it. I wanted, and also it's black and white. It's got this very specific feel and texture to it. I wanted it to feel immortal.
Yeah.
I wanted it to feel powerful and iconic because she's a powerful person.
So that regal, even the way that she was sitting down. This is a way where when people sit on a chair with the back but doesn't have their back on the rest. With that, I was looking at that left elbow propping her up. It's this is a very decent. This is great posture.
Yep. On top of that, there's something about just the set of her jaw. The way how she's looking at herself, and it's I don't know. I could seriously, if I keep on talking about this picture like this, I'm going to start getting emotional. And no, thank you, because I don't want my mascara to run. But if we're talking about not just favorite shots, but more meaningful shots, I walked away from this shoot feeling, how can I put this? What's funny is, so my lady, she's Jewish, so of course I'm like half Jewish by now, and I felt like, and I wish there was a strong I wish there was a stronger word I could use in terms of it being more than just a mitzvah, you know, like a good deed. It's more along the lines of, I just felt so honored to be a part of this part of her journey. And for the record, she had a double mastectomy, I think a couple weeks after this, and she's now cancer free. And she's
great.
healing, and she's actually gotten back into performing as well. I think she was over at Dwayne Park, like last week or the week before. So,
did you have reconstructive or?
Yeah, she's like she's going through that process. You know, she's going through that process of like physical healing and reconstruction. But I mean, like, for her to bounce back as much as she has, and to get back into performing, where it is part of the healing, but also like. When we call her a legend, I mean, like, there's a reason why we do. And, oh, man, she's just such a great person.
No, yeah, I mean, when you send a shot, and even though I know we kind of travel in the same burlesque circles, like, I recognize, like, this is one of those, like, this burlesque is ubiquitous now in New York. It's like every bar has a show.
Your word.
Everybody's a producer. Everybody's a performer. But there are a few people, it's like, this is, the people in the know.
Yeah.
It's just a great shot, but also like capturing her before her mastectomy is kind of like one of those great things. Because like my mom also had a double mastectomy, and one of those things, like I'm never gonna shoot my mom naked, but like I wish somebody had that for her to have that immortalized for her too. So
yeah, I mean, like our buddy Tatiana.
Oh yeah. So I think we kind of did around the same project as well.
Yeah, well, that's right, because I remember when Tatiana was first diagnosed, there's a picture that I took of her before. And it was like, oh man, that night was sobering, but we got beautiful images. And she's like also, again, another one of those incredibly powerful people. Like after, like Delicia, like about a month after she had her double mastectomy, she was back on stage performing. I mean, yeah, man. I mean,
makes me feel like I'm a fucking wuss.
or how about this? Because this is how I have to hold this in my head. It's not that we're wusses. It's more along the lines of we can admire and appreciate those who have that kind of strength and power, because I mean it takes a lot to get back out into the world, period, but to then get back into your art and your craft to help you heal.
And you know, that's a better way of putting it, the idea of
it takes nothing away from us, but I mean we can appreciate more of them, you know.
But also it's a great lesson for everybody. It's like, you know, even if it's a big deal, nothing's a big deal. Like it's this is a life-threatening procedure or diagnosis and whatnot. But what are you going to do? Cry about it? Power through it? And then once you do it, like use that as fuel. And then again, looking at things a lot of pressure can be disheartening and pulls you down. But in the end, it's like, you know what? You're going to have to go through it anyway.
Well, I mean, there's some people who don't.
That's true.
There's some people who like stuff like this would break them. You know what I mean?
Tune out. No.
Yeah, but I mean, but with that said, like, look, I'm just happy that she's doing so much better. So Tatiana, it's been been like 10 years. Yeah. And she's still like being a bad motherfucker.
She's still performing. Oh, she's performing even more now. And so, which is kind of good. Like, which reminds me, good thing that you remind me, because like I know she moved into our area recently.
Word? Okay, cool. In that case, then like
she's I think Ditmas or Kensington, somewhere near, like, a little further down from us. But it's good that we have like all of these friends a little bit closer. But like,
yeah, you know, it'd be really interesting too if like one day we could have kind of like a round table one of these, because you know, between the two of us as photographers, I would also love to have.
Oh, that's a great. You know what? We'll book that. Yep. We'll bring T in. Oh shit.
Let's think about who
like good subjects that we have, like 2 photographers, 2 subjects that we both have shot.
Oh yeah, that would be great.
Good, like 4, like a couple of beers in there.
Yeah,
good conversation. Again, it's like Yeah, we intended to nerd out. Well, at least I always my goal was to nerd out about gear, celebrate our both fiscally responsible and irresponsible purchases. Ask about the stuff that we need to
Mhm.
ask about, but in the end, it's like I love how we like. I never really thought about like doing. It's a fucking great idea. It's like we have plenty of friends that would
Oh,
love
yeah.
to sit and talk.
And I
about
mean,
it.
because so much of the thing that I think a lot of, especially baby photographers, need to hear is the model experience.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
that is one of the things that my intention of this podcast is alternate photographer,
Mm-hmm.
subject, then entertainer too.
Yep.
Like a totally different field than photographer. Because in the end, like I got lucky that I started being shooting risque and erotica stuff. I'm glad that my personality was 2000s, right? If I did the same things when I was on the up and up now, would have been canceled right away.
Yeah.
So, and I'm lucky to have friends who have like called me on my bullshit too,
Your word.
right? Because like it's a different time now on how to ask to shoot, how to communicate while shooting, but also all the other security stuff as well. Like
Mhm.
every time I shoot here, I tell people it's like I have a nanny cam right there. I
Oh,
can
dope.
put it down if you're uncomfortable because like I don't have it recording. I don't even have it turns on when I look at it, right?
Yeah.
Because like so right now I use it when I'm out of town and look at my cat.
Oh, absolutely.
But
Oh,
these are highly intrusive stuff to a lot of people.
oh
So
yeah.
there's a lot of things that we could still always continue to learn with our subjects as well, how to make them comfortable because
Yep.
that's what gonna bring them the most joy.
And one more thing. Well, one last thing to add to it, because I'm sure because it's going to be one of those two-parter episodes. I'm sure.
Okay, final stretch.
Work.
We had a bathroom break, a battery break, now an SD card reader break. Yeah, I fully intended this to be like a 30 to 45 minute conversation, but again, with Theik, you can't do that because like we like too many cool stuff.
Oh, word.
So yeah,
And on top of that, I do talk a lot,
Yeah.
as my mother likes to remind me.
that's what podcasts are all about. But
Word.
we'll wrap up our conversation about Delissa, the actual legend, in
Right.
order to make you feel.
Because we were talking about getting models in to
Mhm,
talk
yep,
with.
mhm.
Because I mean, I do think that it's important that as photographers, I think number one, it's easy to forget how difficult it is to be in front of camera.
100%.
We forget, especially if you've been doing it for long enough and you don't hop in front of camera at all. There is a disconnect that happens that you need to be reminded of. And on top of that, the perspective of the model, I know, is one where, as much as we're going like, oh, we're here doing X, Y, and Z, they're going, yeah, we have to do X, Y, and Z, especially with you guys,
Mhm.
And and on top of that, I love trading stories, especially
Yeah.
funny ones. And yeah, so let's definitely get this set up.
100%. That's going to be in one of my top priorities. But because again, in the end, it's like it's hard enough to communicate. Period.
Mhm.
Like even to your closest friends and their family, it's hard enough to communicate. But to communicate with a collaborative partner at that point, whether it's like music or photos or whatever, that's another layer of difficult communication where you need technical know-how, you need articulation, and you need experience, but also trust, which is super difficult to get, particularly nowadays. Everybody's defenses are way up everywhere.
I mean, as they should in
As
a way.
they
I
should,
mean, like
yeah.
the world is just proving itself to be, in a lot of ways, like filled with like treachery and madness.
100%.
But I think, to your point, just jumping off of that, you also have to learn how to communicate authentically and honestly with your collaborators slash colleagues slash clients. Hey, this is what I'm actually about, and I want to meet you in a mutually
Mhm.
agreeable place.
Yeah, and that's when you mentioned authentic, that is something that is, I wish we bring up a lot more because y- y- authentic means you don't have to be articulate. You don't have to be technically sound.
Word.
But if it's you, and if it's authentically, you're coming it in a way where it's with honesty and with love and with just utmost respect,
Mm-hmm.
people will understand the bumbling, rambling,
The
quiet.
awkwardness. a little bit there. I mean, like, I don't know how you go about this, but like, you know, especially if I'm doing a shoot with, like, you know, like a collaborator who I've been working with for a long time, I'll warn them. Hey, look, man, I don't know this light that I'm about to play around with. So excuse me as I mutter to myself for the next 5 minutes. By the way, please remind me in 5 minutes to get out of my head and start looking at the person in front of me. Thank you so much. You know,
And that's the thing. It's like, you know, those are the things that we, you know, us as creators shouldn't forget. Like, we always, because the things that we watch on YouTube, the things that we read, the things that we watch, the things that we are exposed around are like these charismatic, awesome, cool gals and guys about their craft. You don't have to be.
yeah. I mean, on top of that, like, those are people who. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's good to have this part of the game,
Again,
but
I'd love to
the
be charismatic.
showmanship and the marketability isn't necessarily the most important thing for you in the moment as a photographer.
100%.
It is important to you as a photographer, though, if you want to make more money at this. That's for sure. But you don't have to like trademark shebang like Peter Hurley does. You know what I mean?
You again, you know, I say that I try to say this to myself to remind me, because this podcast might not show it, but you know, I'm extremely socially awkward. You're a captured audience. I'm great at talking to a small group, a small intimate group, maybe a dinner for 4 or 6. I'm a crush a dinner for 4 or 6.
Word.
Housewarming party, I'm screwed.
It's like when when you're at a bar, you're great with like 1 or 2 people nearby in the corner where it's like quieter. But if you're out on the dance floor, it's like, why am I here?
Or it's just like even when you start a night out with friends and there's 4 of you, and then becomes 10, becomes 12, becomes 15. It's like, I'm just gonna sit by myself.
Yep.
That's the same thing with my photography. And then, you know, I found a way to make that work for me. Like, when I shoot, that's the reason why I shoot super fast. It's not a lot of chit chat because, one, I'm shy. At least the first few times.
Good word.
Right? It's like, you know, usually, you know, and people appreciate a very, very quick shoot. You come here for 45 minutes, you get 3 layouts. Come on, that's sometimes unheard of.
Great.
Right? But, you know, also the part of it's like, there's no awkward silences where I just like stare at them and whatnot. No, it's like I have a few shots that I know I could rock. They have some ideas and we'll rock that, and then we'll go about our merry way. Sometimes we'll, like, Puss and I chatted here for an hour just because, like, we've been friends for a while now.
Word.
But I'm not going to force myself to be amiable if I'm shy.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Yeah.
And that can work for you. And that's the reason why, like, sometimes I've heard some of my models say, like, you know, photographers that are trying to be too friendly, it's creepier than the photographers that are just like somewhat rude.
Bye. Yeah.
Like, stand there, move this, shut, and bounce. Because again, like, it's always context. Like, you don't be rude if you just want to be rude, right?
Yeah.
But that's a good thing. But it's like, just to the point where, like, this is always going to be a conversation that it's going to be fruitful, no matter how experienced you are.
Yes.
Particularly in photography, because, like, we shoot different age ranges.
Yep.
Different levels of expertise. Some models are like, keep on bringing up Puss, but she's a pro.
Oh yeah.
Like, I just count down. I'm going to shoot 8 shots now, and then after the 8, I'm going to take a break because I want to review. And that's it. And she'll just pose herself. But there's a lot of other models that you need to, like, all right, step forward, cross your legs, turn 20 degrees, chin up, chin down, chin forward, or something like that. It varies.
I mean, also, like, levels of confidence. Even with someone who you do have to, like, you know, like you're saying, like, take a step forward, cross that over there, do this, do that. The third, there's a difference, though, between someone who works well with that level of direction and can then therefore find their way into more confident and effective posing versus someone where you also have to emotionally hold their hand because they're like going, because some of the client work I do, it's with like just average people who just want to have certain kinds of shots for themselves, and the emotional leading, I guess, I don't want to use handle because there's a level of condescension there I don't quite like, but like the emotional leading or holding space for is simply like reassuring them that things are going well. Yeah. And you can show them pictures 100%. And they can agree that the shots look dope and they're happy with how they look, but you'll still have this moment of, okay, cool, so let's get back to one, and then you get the camera up and they do this.
Yeah. It's great.
What am I supposed to do again?
Yeah. It's okay. Like I keep on telling them, like, hey, this is awkward. Like you are in a stranger's place, either semi or fully naked. It's awkward for you and me.
Yeah, well, I mean, but then there's also just the fact that as a species, we're not built to do this. Like this isn't. There's no direct correlation between this and like 300,000 years ago. No. We're like just trying to survive. Instead you've got this camera on you, and it's like, for what reason? And then you're doing what again? And pictures, what? Yeah,
it's good. Like again, in a roundabout way, we've talked about we're talking about gear, we're talking about shots, we're talking about stories and narratives about what we've done, but it all boils down to connection.
Yep.
Connect again. If you can connect with your subject, that's the ideal. But in the end, this is your craft. You're connecting with yourself. Like you're working on your craft. You're trying to make the best type of art that you can. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. In the end, it's just like, we're forging through the past that we'll be better tomorrow than we are today.
Yep.
That's it.
And one more thing to add to that. You also want someone to be able to connect to positive images of themselves. Because again, like there's something powerful about, because I'm sure you've experienced this, when they look at the back of the camera, look at you and go, oh my God, is that
That's
me?
My favorite. It's my favorite.
Like, and they go there, hit you really hard in the arm. Like, oh my God, is that you? Is that me?
That is what I do as far as like,
yup.
That's the thing. It's like,
there are very few things in life that feel that good.
Yeah. And again, different types of photography have elicit different types. Like we're not photojournalists that goes into the thick of the fire and try to document the thing that is historically in the making. We are, we're glamour photography, model photography, fitness photography, kind of like, we're documenting stuff, but in the end, it's
far more personal.
Yeah.
And it's far more individual.
We're being commissioned to make a painting instead of like, it's not a lithograph that I'm lifting exactly what has happened. So there are certain things that need some artistic interpretation on our end too. So it's always good. I love when you mention it. It's like, every time that, that's why I like shooting people that I like over and over.
Yep.
Because I consider it's a challenge. Like I've already impressed you twice now. Can I impress you a third time? Ooh. Can I impress you a fourth time? Because they know, again, Tatiana, plus these people like we've shot a bajillion times, is like they know what we're capable of.
Word.
Right? So it's now it's like either they've changed, so we document that, or we changed and we show them that. And so for me it's like, I asked Puss because I got new lights, I wanted to test out. She is veering more to the fitness stuff. And she's a lot more buffed. So I was like, shit, we're like, all right, let's I don't do that much, but let's blend, fitness and figure and bodyscapes and portraiture in one. Let's see.
Ooh,
and I kind of, it's like I'm excited. So again, in the end, it's a lot more simple. One light.
I can't wait to see those.
Yeah, exactly. So I know we've ran way long. I'm sorry, not sorry. It's very selfish for me that you're here.
I'm not sorry. I'm myself.
Well, before we end, tell the people where they can find you, follow your work, and all of your stuff.
Sure thing. You can find me on Instagram at Theik Photo, TheikPhoto. Also, TheikSmithPhotography.com. Those are the best ways to get in touch with me and to see my work and the cool people who I work with. That's about it, really.
Yeah, and I cannot stress enough how no skip is Theik's Instagram feed again, because there's a lot of like we're fans of a lot of artists and a lot of creators and whatnot, and some people's signature style is a little bit more specific. Like, oh, this guy is a film photographer that just symmetric shapes or landscapes, or this is a model photographer, this is a burlesque photographer, this is a glamour photographer. You have a lot of genres that can be touched. Like, it is glamour, it is fitness, it is dance. Yeah, so it's kind of like, I could be I can appreciate portraiture and you'll have it. I can appreciate dance and you'll have it. That's why I think it's like, this is no skips.
Thanks.
At Theik Photo on the IGs. And you post very, very regularly.
Yeah.
You post a whole lot. That's why I'm very, very impressive.
Thanks so much, brother. I mean, I'm just here trying to go there and be better.
There you go. We all are. And again, follow Theik Smith. If you've gotten to the end of this podcast, we really appreciate you joining us. Feel free to watch us on YouTube, youtube.com/Jong. You'll get to see some behind the scenes of photo shoots that I do. Very simple, but it is a collection of our cool friends' performances, the best burlesque performers, best sideshow performers in New York.
Word.
I have my musicians friends too that we do their music videos and their live performances all in that channel. I post a new video at least once every week, and then with this podcast, hopefully we can do that a little bit more. Tune in to our next episodes where I feature more photographers, more entertainers, more models, and more creatives, more creators, just to talk about stuff. And hopefully you can join us in just dudes hanging out, chilling. But also, if you learn something, put that in the comments and sharing our appreciation that you shared your time with us. So with that, thank you very much, Theik.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Cheers.